So I first got, into iRacing. I think it was in around 2010. I had been racing a limited late model up in Wisconsin, and I actually had a relationship with Bobby Waltrip, who is Michael and Daryl's brother, and he's the one that tipped me off to iRacing. He's like, hey, this is a great development tool, and I've always been an avid NASCAR gamer. I remember, my first game was on the PC, NASCAR Heat, and then NASCAR Thunder 04, and Chase for the Championship in 05, and Total Team Control in 06, right? The list goes on. And obviously I was like, yeah, I want to get into this, and checked it out. Bought a used Logitech G27 from a guy up in Wisconsin, and I still have that same wheel to this day. I've never upgraded, still have my old Logitech G27, and it just works for me. So yeah, that's how I got started into iRacing, and just took off from there. So I think early on in the beginning, iRacing was a tool for me just to get used to the parameters of a big vehicle. So I grew up racing go-karts, and I went right into a full-size car, and that was a huge transition for me. So just learning kind of where my fenders were, where my bumper was, just learning, where the wall was at, right? Because I went from being pretty centered in a go-kart to off-centered in a car, and just kind of knowing my limits, and being able to adapt to new tracks, creating consistency in my driving style. I always say iRacing is a great tool for consistency. You can see your lap time live, right? You can see when you do something, you can see your lap time get better or get worse. And to me, even though you don't have that tool in real life, you can train your it's almost muscle memory, right? You kind of know when you're on the real racetrack whether you've gained time or lost time because of you're used to seeing it live on iRacing. And that's one of the things that I think really helped me the most as far as actually driving, was just being able to be consistency, and a lot of that came from that tool in iRacing. The laptop rig, I mean, it's kind of got a little famous on social over the course of my gaming and racing career. Still use it today. I've been through probably 5 or 6 laptops because I keep burning the cards out of them, the graphics cards. But yeah, I don't know. It's I've always been on the road a ton, and I've noticed when you get in a motion rig or an actual rig, you get used to it. So with me traveling so much, I had, in Wisconsin, in Charlotte, Sandusky, Ohio, I was always on the road, and just having a G27 that I could unclamp, put it in my bag, have a laptop, set up my laptop anywhere. I've done it in hotel rooms. I can bring my rig anywhere, and not many people can do that. So with being on the road, it was just a way for me to iRace, really wherever I was. And I got used to it, and I was successful with it, so there was no reason for me to upgrade. I searched iRacing on my Twitter, and there's tweets. We had the Snowball Derby last weekend. We still stay in the same place that we did back then, and I had my iRacing rig clamped to the table at Snowball Derby, and I remember breaking down the racetrack on iRacing. I was driving around on iRacing, right, in the hotel room, breaking down to my crew chief on what the car was doing where, that day earlier at the racetrack at Five Flags. So I think people underestimate the tool that iRacing can be. Translating some of that to real life has been a key to my career and a key to my success. The camaraderie and the community on iRacing is probably one of the most underrated aspects of iRacing. It's a great place to network. You never know who you're in a session with, and I have a good story, and I won't totally out TJ on this one, but I was in an Irwindale race, fixed street stock race at Irwindale, and I was racing with this guy. It wasn't TJ Majors. He was on an alias name. I didn't know it at the time, and so I'm racing. He's a little bit better than me, and I came in. I put my set of tires on with, 20 to go. He was leading. He stayed out, and I raced him for the lead. Roughed him up just a little bit. I won. And he messaged me after, hey man, what was up with that? And I apologized to him. I took full responsibility. And about an hour later, I get a message on Twitter from TJ Majors. He goes, Irwindale. That's all he said. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That was TJ Majors, right? And I think that was in 2015-ish, and it was when I was a part of the Quickie program. I was winning a ton of late model races, super late model races, and he knew who I was, and he goes, "Hey, like, what can I do to help you?" I said, "Man, like, I don't have a ton of money, but I'd love to get in front of some of these people and make it known who I am and what I'm doing." And that's he kind of got me in the NASCAR funnel, right? He's close with Brad Keselowski, and of course Dale Earnhardt Jr. And he kind of got me in front of those guys, even though I never specifically did a deal with BKR or Junior Motorsports. I had some guys in the NASCAR funnel that knew about me, and it created opportunities for me in my career. So you never know who you're racing on there, and you might run into Dale Jr. You might run into, there's so many NASCAR drivers that I race, and you don't know who you're going to be in a session with. So I think that's one of the things that iRacing is able to do. It's able to take maybe a fan base that can iRace and bring them closer to real life pro drivers, and I think that's just so cool. The biggest thing that made iRacing enjoyable for me was getting a good group of people that you have fun with. It's so much more than just turning laps by yourself. And I think if you can create a friendship and a group community on iRacing, or any game for that matter, but specifically iRacing, it keeps it enjoyable, right? You go on there to hang out with your buddies. It's not necessarily it's not always to turn laps, right? And I think that's a really good message that I want to hit home. Is it's a community. I built lifelong friends on there, and if you can get a group of people that you enjoy doing it with, it makes the experience so much better. So another thing for me is, iRacing obviously is, there's motion sims out there, but the majority of the people have a static simulator, right? So you're having to see everything happen on the computer screen. So when you get loose, you're seeing that vision on the screen change, and it's telling you that, oh, hey, I'm loose, I need to counter steer, right? Where in real life you're sitting in the vehicle, you can feel it. And I think iRacing is almost more difficult in that sense, because in real life you can feel it and then react to it, where on iRacing you have to actually see it happen. And I think that's where some of the old school racers disconnect with iRacing, and they're like, this isn't real. Well, I understand that you don't have that feel, but you're still seeing it. So I think when you can perfect iRacing and get yourself good at iRacing, and then you get in real life, you can almost anticipate what your real life vehicle is going to do, just by, you're almost able to see. It sounds cliche almost, but you're almost able to see yourself get loose before you can feel it. And I feel like that's why I feel like I'm able to drive a pretty free vehicle in real life compared to some other people that run similar cars and similar setups as me. And I feel like it's from that in iRacing, is being able to sort of anticipate yourself or the race vehicle do something and react to it, and sort of keep your vehicle in control, or closer to that edge of being out of control, if that makes sense. Yeah, the 10,000 I rating, I was, once I got there, I was like, man, I don't want to lose this. Like, my luck, I get to 10K. I've worked for it for so long, and the public wasn't even sure what was going to happen. So I remember it was at a late model race, the old late model at Langley is the race where I eclipsed 10,000. I remember at the time there could only be 50 spectators in a room, and it was maxed out. And I had no idea people were actually watching me get closer, but they saw me in the room. They're like, hey, he's like 2 I rating away. If he wins this, he's going to eclipse it. And there was max spectators in the room, because I think some people thought it was going to just stop at 9,999. We didn't know if we were going to get to that 5th digit, but it did. And I remember, like, man, I really don't want to lose it. My luck, I go into the next race, my internet drops, or I get wrecked by a lap car or something. So I decided I think I raced on it a little bit more, but I parked it. at like maybe 10,000 and 100 or something like that. And I created another account, Tyler instead of Ty, and did it again. So got to 10,000 again, all over again. And then once I got those 2 accounts pretty high up, I started another one. That's Ty 2, so Ty Majeski 2. So I have actually 3 accounts, only 2 of them are active, and those are the 2 accounts I race off of. So yeah, we have a lot of iRating between my 3 accounts for sure. So favorite track car combo, I love that old late model, that original late model that is no longer on the service, and I'm a little upset about it. But the new late model stock is great and everything, and the super late model is great, but there was just something about, I don't know, maybe it was just, you know, nostalgia or whatever, but that old late model was just fun for me. So I always loved racing that at Five Flags or Nashville. Some faster racetracks was always fun. But I was really happy to get Slinger on there. Slinger is obviously a track that's close to my hometown, basically an hour south of me, and it's a great racetrack. I mean, it's unique. There's nothing like it on the service, right? The fast high banks. It's very cool to have on there. So it's awesome to see some of the Wisconsin tracks getting involved in iRacing, and hopefully we see that happen more. From a young age, I've always wanted to be a NASCAR driver, right? And there was times in my career where that was a far-fetched dream, right? But as you know, we kept winning at different levels, and I got hooked up with a really good late model team in 2014, and we started winning races all over the country. Had that race with TJ Majors, right? He kind of got me in front of some people that were impressed. I'm like, man, this could happen, right? This is becoming more and more of a reality. Kept winning races, right? Had a opportunity to sign a development deal with Roush Fenway, and it's just crazy that, you know, I go back and there's 2 or 3 races in my career that really altered my career path and got me here today. So, you know, I think the moral of my story is you never know who's watching. Always be respectful to anybody you're talking to in the pit area. You never know who you're racing against on iRacing, right? I was racing against TJ Majors on an alias name, had no idea it was him, and that kind of got me in the NASCAR funnel. And then, yeah, won the Snowball Derby, propelled me into a championship here. So you just never know. I'm a first-generation racer from a one-stoplight town in Wisconsin, right? With a dream of being a NASCAR driver, and you know, with the help of iRacing, and you know, with a lot of grit and determination, and surrounding myself with a lot of great people, I made my dream a reality.
Tonight, on Countdown to Green, we recap a chaotic clash at Daytona. We chat with the defending eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champ. And we take a look at how you're racing at home with the Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more coming up on Countdown to Green.
Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is Countdown to Green. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway, and joining me as always, we have Ryan Vargas and Alan Cavana. How are you two doing?
Man, I'm doing great tonight. The Clash, we just talked about it. Chaotic race there. I'm excited to get the season officially kicked off here tonight.
Yes, tonight, Ryan, it counts. It starts to count for points. It starts to count for that money. If you want that big trophy at the end of the season at the NASCAR Hall of Fame, you better start doing well tonight. We're at Daytona, baby.
Yes, of course, tonight it all starts. It matters, like Alan said. And I feel like that was also like maybe a little push to Ryan to remember that although he won picks, they didn't matter. But we'll talk more about that later on the show. Before we get into the eNASCAR series, I just want to say I'm not in my usual setup, everyone.
No.
I'm
Look at you.
I don't know where I could
logo
be.
In the background there.
I don't know where I could be.
Nice.
Yes, that's right. I'm at the iRacing headquarters, and I decided to invade it. I don't know if the production crew knows I'm here, but I'm pretty sure they know I'm here since they did all the setup. They were nice enough to do that for me, so thank you so much. But let's get on with the show. I want to talk about another series that happens. Ryan, we have the college series that also happens.
Yeah, the college series, they just recently raced at Talladega Super Speedway. It's always such a neat series, seeing all these students being able to, race for grant money, really. I mean, it's really interesting. You see all these awesome paint schemes, Alan. I'll let you kind of talk more about that, but just representing the schools and seeing all their names on the race cars.
Well, that's what's just so important about this series. What a way to get in. And you also get a chance to race against some of the top talent that we have in this sport, in this series. You get to race against the Stephen Wilsons of the world, the Logan Clampitt, and do it for that grant money, that scholarship money, all, Ryan, while repping your school. Look at some of the great logos. All these paint schemes, yeah, they're similar, but they have the logo of your school that you are representing, and that is such a cool feeling. Like, I wish my school, Syracuse University, would get involved in this, and we're seeing the action that we got to see at Talladega because they are racing with money and pride on the line, and also ready to kind of make your name and make yourself known in this sport, in this series, on this platform. This is where it can start for a young driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And John Forbes Jr. getting it done in a chaotic fashion here. You look at all the chaos going on, big wreck into one, and luckily for him, he was able to take home the victory.
Yeah, I mean, the competition is unreal. I mean, look at this. This is coming to the line for the win at Talladega. I mean, what a way to show it for Forbes Jr., repping his school, getting a little money on the side, and most importantly, guys, getting your name out there. Because if you want to get to the big leagues, you start doing it here in the college series, and the way to get that can maybe get you here to the Clash. Guys, this was just a few weeks ago at the Clash that kicked off our season here in the Coke Series. Briar LaPrade, you think they're going to be, nothing's on the line. Let's take it cool, everybody. No, guys, this was lap 1, Ryan. Could you believe they were this aggressive this early?
Well, I can't believe they were this aggressive, but at the same time, I can't. Like you mentioned, there was no points, no money, just pride, right? Go out there, just send it on everybody. Why not, right? You saw a lot of 3-4 wide action, a lot of pushing, a lot of bumping and banging. I mean, that's just what it's all about, right? And at the end of the day, our reigning champ, Parker White, was able to get it done in chaotic fashion. You see right here, the ERA teammates. You're not even safe working with your own teammate, right? All these guys learning, working with new people, right? That's the big thing here. Here's the big wreck that took out a lot of competitors down the backstretch here to really set ourselves up for a really interesting finish here. Yeah.
This was the final lap, and look at that red car. You can see on the bottom lane there, Parker White, the red number. He's the champ, so he got the red number with all those uniform paint schemes. Oh, a little aggression there, but guess what? Wins last year to win the championship and starts out this season winning the Clash and getting that checkered flag. It just goes to show, points or no points, money or no money, it's all about that checkered flag. You got to beat the champ if you want to be the champ. No one's done it yet.
Yeah, I mean, the champ's definitely letting everyone know that he is not going to play this one easy this time around, which is very interesting. And, when you think about it, you got to really think about what came out of all of that and the race, the Clash, now going back to Daytona. So, Ryan, what are your thoughts here?
Well, one of the big things that I'm looking at is this Clash. Does it foreshadow today's race? Is it going to be chaotic? But, for me, I'm looking at it like this. We talked about it earlier. There's points on the line, right? At the end of the day, if you leave Daytona with a victory, you could qualify yourself for the playoffs. So I'm interested to see how these guys race, but I think they're going to be a little bit more calm when all the money's on the table.
Yeah, and look, this race really lends itself to the veterans. One of the best parts about this series, we get new blood in this series all the time, right? But when we see what Parker White, the champion, was able to do, a little patience, a little luck early on in this race. He avoided some of these wrecks. He started lurking there on the top, just waiting for his moment, knowing that others would be aggressive. Again, no points, but still a checkered flag on the line. You can see him there, lurking there on the top, avoiding some of these big wrecks. He even hung back a little bit there just to get out of the mess that was about to come. But ultimately, he's able to play it smart. He's the champ, showing what he is and why he's the champ, and he goes on and gets the victory once again. So patience really played off. Veteran moves by that young driver, Parker White.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if that plays out tonight as well. But before we do that, one of the things that we love to do here on Countdown to Green is catch up with our drivers and talk about the series ahead. Well, we got to catch up with Logan Clampitt and see how the fierce competition is making an impression on him.
Last song that got stuck in my head, Probably Thinking About Me by Morgan Wallen. I'm a big Morgan Wallen fan. Logan Clampitt, Trabuco Canyon, California. It means a lot to be in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. To be in my 8th season is pretty crazy to think about that. I was a rookie in 2016. I was 15 years old at the time. I'm 24 now. So to be in the series still and still be competitive and have all these new guys come up and still beat them, it means a lot to be in the series still now, even with how busy I am and everything. Coming back into the year, I feel a lot more confident than I was a few years ago. I feel like I can adapt a lot more to the cars and the tracks and everything around. Running the eNASCAR College iRacing Series has really helped that a lot, racing against Steven especially, and I've finished second to him so many times, but I've also beat him. So coming in this season, I feel very, very confident. Well, I started back in 2016, so the series has definitely changed a lot, more chaotic nowadays. The competition is a lot more fierce, and you gotta focus up a lot more nowadays. I don't play a lot, but I've been playing a lot of Phasmophobia recently. That's a pretty fun game. Hobbies outside of video games that I have are coding, going to the gym, and dirt bike riding. The hardest corner to perfect on the circuit, probably Rockingham, because of how bumpy and how inconsistent you can be on that track lap to lap and how much that line can change throughout the race. Used to love the track, haven't ran it in years, but I think we can pick up the speed at that track again and have a lot of confidence going into that race. The 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion, Logan Clampitt.
Yeah, Logan Clampitt there, returning to the series. I guess you could call him a veteran. He's raced in the series as far back as 2016, as he mentioned, and he's kind of a neighbor to me. He's going to Cal State Fullerton. He's racing in the college series. So, a Cali boy out here kind of making his name in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Hey, look, I love the confidence. He's a veteran bringing the confidence that he's going to go there and win the championship. And get this, guys, we get Logan Clampitt back the same year we get Rockingham back in the real world for Xfinity and the Truck Series and here in the Coke Series. So we get two good comebacks here already in 2025. I can't wait to see what he does now that he's back.
Yes, and I was actually going to mention the confidence is key, and I think for a lot of these drivers, as they look to the schedule, they kind of get the feel of where they could feel confident in, which areas as well. We have the schedule out here, what to expect from the series. And Ryan, what are you looking forward to in terms of what track?
Yeah, we taking a look at this schedule, right? Segment 1, see a lot of the familiar faces. You see Daytona, Vegas, Richmond. Then you got Rockingham making this return, but I'm looking at Interlagos, right? This is the third straight year that the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series will go international, and they'll be going to Brazil. I mean, it's really cool to see just this series kind of take these next-gen cars to these tracks that are international series, like the NASCAR Brazil Series last year, the NASCAR Euro Series. It's just so cool to see them venture out like this, and I for one, am really excited to see these next-gen cars tackle this tricky racetrack.
Well, yeah, and of course, Ryan, we go in segments. That's segment 1. Segment 2 is pretty straightforward. We have to look right at segment 3 right there. Look at the diversity, first of all. Short track at Iowa, high speeds at Dover, street course. But look at the last race there, Atlanta. Who came up with this schedule? King of chaos, whoever created the last race of the regular season, Atlanta, a drafting track. This track, the winner of this track could vault themselves into the playoffs and their shot at $100,000. Also, the chaos that this track creates, it could push someone right out of their playoff spot. That's why I love whoever created the schedule at the Coke Series, because Atlanta being the deciding race right before the playoffs, that's going to make a huge difference as to who's in the field, more importantly, who isn't.
It was a little bit diabolical of whoever did it on the iRacing staff. I'm looking at you guys. I'm going to have a talk with them after this. But first, let's talk about the fact that there are multiple championships happening this year. And I find that super interesting. And I feel like sometimes they don't get the light that they deserve, Ryan.
Yeah, so one of the most interesting things here this season is that we have multiple championships, as you mentioned. We have our typical Drivers' Championship right here, right? All 40 drivers are in the championship, running for the big money, I guess you could say. 14 races in the regular season, then 4 races make up the playoff. Of the 40 drivers, 10 will qualify, with 4 drivers making the championship race, and they will decide it out NASCAR style. Highest finisher gets the championship. Then we go into rookies. There's 8 rookies in the field this year, and all these guys, they're fighting for their own points too. They're fighting for their own money. So it's going to be really interesting to see which rookie kind of raises above the rest and establishes himself in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series.
Yeah, thinking about those drivers and the individual things that they want to chase, but there's also a team aspect, guys. We can't forget it. We show the team standings every week here on Countdown to Green. There's 40 drivers, right, that break down into 20 teams. So that's 20 duos that race each time. Each car that earns points toward the championship, including any substitutes that are needed. But the team with the most points over the season will be crowned the team champion. Look, there's a little money on the line. There is pride, and there's no point resets or drops when it comes to the team standings. What we also have to explain is the segments. We showed you the schedule. The schedule is broken down into 3 different segments. And how you do, it's like mini seasons within the bigger season. How you do in those segments, there they are right there. Segment 1, segment 2, segment 3. How you do in those segments, it's like a point standings of its own, and that can give you bonus points toward the ultimate playoff and get you those playoff points. So you want to do well in each segment. After each segment, the segment points, they reset themselves. And the most important thing to look back to is when we get in the meat of this schedule, segments 2 and 3, there are back-to-back races. So that momentum can swing one way or swing the other in back-to-back weeks. It's going to get really tight down the stretch, but we can't forget about those segment points because that could help you in the playoffs.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot of drivers, they have a lot to keep in mind because, there's lots of stats that go into seeing how they perform and, calculating for the championship win in the end. But, I want to talk about 2025, looking ahead in the series. There's always those headlines that you want to pay attention to. And for that, we have senior staff writer of iRacing here, Justin Malillo. If you know the series, you know him. How you doing, Justin? Can you take us through these headlines?
I'm doing great, Camille. Thanks for having me. And yeah, absolutely. It's been a wild offseason since that incredible 2024 championship race up in uptown Charlotte. But in the months between that and tonight's season opener, that's when really this season has begun to take shape. And here are some of the more important details that you maybe might have missed. First up, we got 20 teams and 40 drivers once again contesting the 2025 schedule. 14 teams have returned from last year. The other 6 look different. Jim Beaver Esports might be the exception to that as they return to the series again after nearly winning the team title back in 2023. Hayek Motorsports is here. Technically, they're new, but their predecessor, JTG Doherty, was once a team in the series back in 2021. The 4 brand new teams in the fold this season: Vegas Inferno, ERA Esports, Apex Racing Team, and 6 Karma. All these new teams, they did their homework, and I can't wait to see how they do in 2025. Then we got the schedule for 2025. It looks fairly similar to last season. Daytona's kicking things off tonight. The playoffs are staying exactly the same. However, Rockingham is making its debut this season. And also, Alan, I agree with you. Atlanta as the regular season finale is going to be insane. As mentioned before, Parker White was crowned the champion in 2024. But the headline here is that Ray Alfalla continues to be the only multi-time champion of the series. Steven Wilson got close last year. White, Wilson, Casey Kerwin, they're among the 6 returning as former champions this year. I think 2025 could be the year it finally happens. Parker White stays winning. He's got college wins at Daytona and Watkins Glen. He got the Clash 2 weeks ago. He podiumed in the IMSA Esports Global Championship. It could be Parker's year all over again, guys.
All right. Well, thanks, Justin. We'll hear from you a little bit later. We love the updates from you. But for now, you were talking Parker White. So let's hear from Parker White on what he's looking forward to this season.
One last opportunity. There's contact in turn 3. Parker White goes up the hill. Parker White is into the outside wall. Zelensky spins behind. And Parker White is a first-time in 2024.
Well, I just won the 2024 championship, so gonna try to defend my title and use some momentum from that to try to chase another title. My name is Parker White, and I'm from Norwich Rock, Maine. I'm pretty confident. I think we got a good field of drivers, and I'm looking forward to racing against them, and my teammates will be there to help me. I think I could be more aggressive on the track to improve as an overall driver. I think if I put that into my driving style this season, I'll be a lot better. Outside of video games, I'm into aviation. I want to be an airline pilot. My truck ride for my private was supposed to be a couple weeks ago, but unfortunately, my instructor's playing it at a time, so now it's going to be in a couple weeks. I like to do flight sim, and really the only other video game I'd say I play is Fortnite. The tracks I'm looking forward to the most this season are probably the 1.5 mile tracks. I'm also looking forward to the road courses, and not really looking forward to the super speedways that much, but the track I have circled on my schedule is Interlagos. It races very good in GT3, anything I've raced it in before, and I think this current next-gen car really suits that track well. There's one turn at Interlagos I think it's going to be quite hard. It's like the last corner before the main straight. You got to be very consistent if you want to make it big in sim racing. The biggest thing for me was by far learning to be consistent. And once you learn to do that, you can improve on your driving. I was mostly self-taught for the most part. I would watch a lot of Twitch streams, like Casey Kerwin being the main one. So I'd pick up on stuff that he would do, and of course other drivers, and just kind of learn that way. I want people to remember me as a 2024 eNASCAR champion.
Yeah, Parker White, a man of many words, but no, a young driver who's made his presence known. Right here, we're getting a good live look in on practice here. You see a lot of guys trying to figure out kind of the draft here a little bit, working with different guys, getting used to each other right now. But Parker White, I would say arguably one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to repeat and go back-to-back and win himself a championship.
That's why it was so interesting to hear him say he wasn't looking forward to this drafting. Well, look at this. Oh, this is in practice. If you can do that in practice, you got to get it out of the way now. But I just like what Parker White was saying. He doesn't need a lot of words. He has a big old trophy to speak for him, and that's what matters.
And that's what matters. And you know what matters to me as well is connecting with all of you at home. And we get to do that through our next segment. This is Show Us Your Rigs, where we get to see your rigs at home, your setups. You send us to them. You send us them through social media. And we get to comment about them because we don't show our own rigs. I'm sorry. Our first rig, Alan, is from Joel. This is a cool setup.
Oh yeah, nice and clean. I love it. Huge, widescreen. Gotta love that. Nice tubular frame. I love all the buttons. I hope they have all some sort of function. Maybe a soda machine, soft serve. Who knows what they all do? But I like that, Lowell. Good job.
Thank you, Lowell, for that one. Our next rig we have, Ryan. Ooh, we have this is a almost 360 setup right here.
Yeah,
from Ray.
Let's talk about the cable management here from Ray Richter. But no, I actually raced with Ray quite a bit on iRacing, so it's very ironic, totally coincidence that I ended up getting him. But no, you can see how serious these guys take it, right? They have that full surrounding screen, even the shade at the top there. Look at that. I mean, really good stuff from Ray here.
And our next one at home, we got an Eminem fan, and someone who's no stranger to the series.
Many pieces of vinyl up there on the wall. But look, this is Dylan Duval. This is what he is racing in the environment. He is racing in the victory lane point of view for Dylan. But I think there's a little back and forth, maybe a little beef with our next one, Ryan.
Yeah, right here we got Nate Stewart, who said that this is the actual victory lane. So he's feeling pretty confident tonight. I think he's going to go toe-to-toe with Dylan Duval here tonight. So, yeah, feeling really confident. But nice little rig here. It's got the screen up top. Nice little stuff here.
All right, let's go to our last rig of the night. And you know what? This one's looking very orange. Alan from Ian.
Yeah, this is representing for what we'll see at Sunday on the Daytona 500. Ian Fisher is with Hayek Racing, repping the Sunny D. The Sunny D car will be at the Daytona 500 with Ricky Stenhouse Jr., but look for it tonight on the track, Dylan Alt representing. So I love the real-world iRacing connection. That's what we're seeing tonight here with the rig from Ian. Good job, buddy.
And remember, if you're like, where is my rig? I want you guys to see my rigs. Well, just show us them. Show us your rigs using the hashtag eNASCAR, tagging eNASCARGG and iRacing on all social media platforms. We love to see it. And this was Logitech Show Us Your Rigs. Now, as we get ready for Daytona, Ryan, we got to talk a little bit more about the track. I know we're looking here right now at practice, but I want to just go to the track.
Yeah, Daytona Beach, it's where we kick off our season every year with the Daytona 500, and we kick it off here with the Clash and our season opener, Daytona International Speedway, located in the iconic Daytona Beach, Florida. 2.5 mile super speedway here. Banking in the corners is 31 degrees. That is steep, especially in that transition. The tri-oval, 18 degrees. Don't get caught out there because a bad bump draft will send you spitted. This place opened in 1959, and last year's winner was the rookie, Wyatt Tinsley.
Oh, I mean, looking at this with the drivers and a little bit, maybe a little bit of aggression from the Clash. Hopefully they get all that out as they head to the track. But, I want to talk to you, Alan, about some of the trends that we should be looking for when we look at Daytona.
Yeah, Daytona. So much history, both, with NASCAR and, of course, in this series. Dale Jr. won the first ever race at Daytona in this series. Actually, Junior Motorsports, the only team with multiple wins at Daytona. Dale Jr. did it, then Ray Alfala did it in 2011, then our friend Michael Conti did it back in 2021. Do we know of a Junior Motorsports driver that we know really closely? I don't know. Not Blake McCandless. No, Briar LaPrade. Maybe that's good news for him tonight. We'll see. Briar or Blake. We'll see which one can pull it off. 7 of the 9 Daytona winners made the playoffs in the same year. Now, I know you might say, yeah, winners usually go to the playoffs, but not always. So think about that. Now, 3 of the winners did make the championship 4. You're looking at them there, including Bobby Zielinski and Tucker Minter. But last year's winner, Wyatt Tinsley, did not make the playoffs. 8 drivers earned their first eNASCAR Series win at Daytona, including the last 3 winners. Femi, of course, then Tucker Minter, and Wyatt Tinsley last year set the world on fire. Wasn't able to make a playoff run with it, but still, a win's a win, especially in this series. Kudos to them. So rookies can get it done. Only a third of Daytona race winners led the most laps in the race. So leading all these laps, if you're looking at that tonight, not necessarily the key to victory. In the last 4 races, the winner did not lead the most laps. Doesn't matter who leads the most. It matters who leads the most important one. And only 1 of 17 winners have ever won from the front row. Think about that when we show you qualifying later. It's Bobby Z. He won from the pole in 2020. Then it was the race 13 of the season. Go there a few times that year. But front row qualifying, not necessarily a key to success. We'll see what qualifying means tonight with so much on the line at Daytona.
With that on the line, well, you know what? I like to get a little bit more stats before we get into the race and our picks. And for that, Justin is back to give us his power rankings.
Thank you, Camille. I'm excited. I'm reeling the map back in this year, the 2025 eNASCAR Power Rankings. I based it on a simple equation that I kind of completely made up. More or less, it's my gut feeling, but there are some stats in there as well. It'd be a crime not to rank Parker White at the top. Steven Wilson's a close second. Those 2 come in with the most heat, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon. There are a lot of playoff drivers in this top 10. My highest non-playoff driver was Casey Kerwin. He had a really good year last year. Donnie Strauss is also up there, thanks in part to his role in winning the team championship. Like I said before, we're also going to be ranking the teams, and Donnie, Parker, and the defending champions at Williams Esports are going to be on top of that ranking as well. Pioneers, they got an upgrade on the offseason with Casey joining the team alongside Grant Bolin. But at the same time, the team that Kerwin left, Spire Motorsports, they also got a decent upgrade. Spire's got Steven Wilson, Femi Olot. They're one of the combos I'm looking forward to this season. I'm glad the numbers lined up with the ERA Esports team with Zelensky and Michael Cozy Jr. on board. My preseason thoughts, I thought they were going to be really good. They could be a scary good combination as well. Agree or disagree, let me know. Check out eNASCAR.com, iRacing.com. Check out where your favorite drivers and teams rank every race week.
Justin, we always love when you're here, but I gotta ask you, this may be a little controversial, but it's great. Have the discussion online. But how did you come up with this formula? Because there is hard facts in here.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like the last couple of races, along with the standings, along with kind of my gut feeling. So there's some science behind it. I feel confident about it, and I really like the direction that it went.
All right, Justin, just before you go quickly, who do you think's going to take it this race?
You know, I really think Malik Ray and the Vegas Inferno are going to get that win, that first race, first new team to get a victory this season.
All right, well, thank you so much, Justin. And of course, stay tuned to a lot of the stuff that happens on iRacing in terms of all the articles. Justin is your boy that helps you out with all that. We appreciate you. All right, now it is time for something that I know Ryan probably wants to brag about a little bit because, you know, you might have won picks for the Clash, which Alan, right, doesn't count towards.
No, not
exactly.
at all. Now it's the real time starts now, Camille. Let's show this rookie how it's done.
All right, well, you know what? He is the rookie, so why don't we let him go first? Ryan, you tell us your pick for this race.
Well, you know, I may be the rookie, but I did still get the win last week, and I know it don't count. But you know what? I'm going to go by cold hard facts. And those cold hard facts say that Parker White is going to get it done today. We've been talking about him all show long. He's the reigning champ. He won the Clash, but not only that, he dominated. He works well with teammates and led a lot of the FTF 500 this past weekend. So, Alan, I feel good about my pick. I think I have a good chance of going back-to-back this week.
As you should. Strong rookie move. You want to be good. You want to be bad. You want to be awesome at this. You do what the rest of these veterans do, like myself, and you pick Parker White to win because Parker White has the patience. And the only way to beat me is to pick the same thing as me, and we'll both win at the end. Camille, what do you got?
All right, guys. I think there's a trend here because I also went with Parker White. And for those of you at home that may be tuning into our picks for the first time, we don't know each other's picks. We seal it up tight in an envelope. So we're finding this out live on broadcast. Our reactions are, well,
we all win.
They're
we
real.
All win this week.
We all win, or we all... or all lose. I don't know. But after this race, we'll be in the same spot no matter what, which is pretty cool. But how it works for our picks, based on the placement for the drivers, we get those points. And at the end of the season, the person with the most points and picks wins and pretty much gets all the bragging rights for years to come. I'm still bragging, and it's been a few years for me.
Well, you guys are going down regardless. I don't care if we have the same pick.
Well, you know what? We'll have to see who's going down and which driver is going to be able to make it past that checker flag first. Get that checker flag first. For now, stay tuned as we go to a commercial break. And on the other side, Kenneth, Evan will be back for the race.
Welcome to Truck Country, where sweat becomes fuel, bumpers become bruisers, and pedals become pedestals. Where a future is written, one lap at a time, and burned into history. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition. Make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
There is a totally different vibe. The pressure, the lights, just builds a totally unique atmosphere. With a championship on the line, let's go racing at Homestead. 4 wide for the race lead. Wilson throws it in. Steven Wilson overdrives in 1 and 2. Parker White is a first-time eNASCAR World Champion in 2024.
Man, it feels good to be back. An off-season like no other.
The newest driver signing with Junior Motorsports is Blake McCandless.
News from the Kansas City Pioneers. They take Casey Kerwin.
With all these moves, it's like the first day of school.
Spire Motorsports goes with a new look for the year.
ERA Esports on the grid with a brand new look for 2025.
What better place to start at than this one? So iconic, legendary, ruthless, so much unknown. Racing here is controlled chaos. A 200-mile-an-hour, edge-of-your-seat thrill ride with a fine line between victory and destruction. It doesn't care if you're a 4-time champion or a rookie. Winning here can make a career. I mean, come on. It's called the World Center of Racing for a reason.
It's gridlock here at Daytona.
What a block to hold on to the position.
We got contact, we got problems.
Door to door, we are 3 wide.
New race leader in Daytona.
Big block up high.
This time to the white flag.
This could spell trouble.
This is Daytona.
Keegan Leahy.
Michael Conti.
Olan Boson.
Wyatt Tinsley wins from the World Center of Racing.
Who will be next?
The road to $500,000 begins another 9-month journey towards a championship. Where tonight, from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to year 16 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Well, it is act number 1 of 18, and as we've said for so many years, we're happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us on the iRacing Esports Network. Alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, happy to be joined in the booth this season by Kenneth Bueno. And Kenneth, we say the same thing every year. New faces, new challengers, new heavy hitters, and new underdogs, and that is all true once more as we get set to kick off another incredible season here in 2025.
Well, no matter how much history you write over the course of what is 15 coming to 16 years in this series, Daytona and tonight is always a blank slate. There is always a new legacy to be written, a new legacy to come to a close, and so much more on the line. A couple weeks ago, we had the clash where things didn't really matter all that much in terms of the overarching storyline. Tonight is where things really ramp up and turn up the intensity. Tonight will be a ton of fun for all the drivers, for us in the broadcast booth, to see which driver can pick their legacy up or start a brand new one in 2025 this year.
We talk about the unpredictability of plate racing, and I think the unpredictability of this series, generally speaking. This is going to be my 10th season doing this series, and I constantly think I've seen it all. I'm willing to bet you 2025 will prove me wrong once more. Before we get set to go trackside and get this thing underway, I want to remind NASCAR Fan Rewards members to sign in now and enter the code eNASCAR to earn 150 points. Not a Fan Rewards member? Scan the QR code or visit NASCAR.com/fan rewards to join and start earning points.
So happy that that's going to be a feature of tonight's broadcast. And it's funny because a lot of drivers will tell you the season doesn't really feel like it starts until we get through Daytona. You get those jitters out. But there's a lot of talk in Countdown to Green, Kenneth, as we look at the drivers set to do battle tonight about how exciting that Atlanta regular season finale is going to be. Checkered flag tonight counts just as good as it will late in the year. This could make or break a season. It seems funny to say that we haven't even got to the grid for race number 1 yet, but the stakes start high right off the bat.
And in this moment, whether you're a seasoned veteran or rookie in this Coca-Cola iRacing series for eNASCAR, you're thinking, I need to get to the end. This is an 80-lap race at the World Center of Racing, so still a long ways from lap 1 until the checkered flag. All of those guys knowing in their heads they could be that very one to punch the ticket for the first time and to have that upper hand over everyone else to start the year.
So for the first time this season, let's go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And it is pole position for a former series champion, the eRacer 42 machine. Logan Clampitt has done just about everything on the service. Can he finally get it, though, at this very, very, very top level? He's got a good chance to start it right tonight. He starts from the pole. He's alongside the Channel 199 sim racing machine. That is Dylan Duval, placed in second. Row number 2, it is the eRacer teammate to your pole sitter. It's Tyler Gary in the 69 car. He's going to be alongside the returning Jim Beaver Esports team. That's the 5 of Nate Stewart, highest starting rookie in the field. Steven Wilson, new look as he drives the Spire Motorsports 77 this year. He'll start alongside the Letard Esports number 40 of Connor Urashek. They'll make up row number 3. Row 4, we'll see the Heineken Motorsports teammates with the 50 of Quinton Warman and the 47 of Dylan Alt, locking out P7 and 8. And back on row number 5, it is the FGRXL eRacing number 12 of Ryan Luza and the RFK Racing 17 of Timmy Holmes.
Team Dylan Esports has a rookie in the number 3 of Blaze Crawford, who start on the inside of row 6. Kwame Scott returns to Letard Esports. He'll drive the Chevrolet from P12 at the drop of the green flag. Colin Keister, the other half of the Jim Beaver Esports squad, will roll his number 15 car from the inside of row 7. Daniel Falkingham, who won a race last year with his former team Joe Gibbs Racing, is with 6 Karma. He's in 14th place. Femi Olatunbosun will try to get another win here at the World Center of Racing with Spire Motorsports from 15th. Alexander Russell, another yellow-striped rookie driver for Kanan Esports, rolls off in position 16. Brian LaPrade in the 88 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet is on the inside of row 9. And defending champion and defending Clash winner now, Parker White from Maine, will take on the outside of the 9th row in 18th spot. Casey Kerwin, one of the bigger movers over the free agency period to the Kansas City Pioneers. He'll start 19th. Jimmy Mullis with Kevin Harvick Incorporated takes the 29 car from P20.
That brings us halfway home, and Dale, you'll find the William Byron Esports number 25 machine of Nick Ottinger. Looking for a bounce back here. He's next to the BS competition number 99 of Garrett Lowe. And then the 2024 eNASCAR Contender iRacing Series champion, Eddie Curter, makes his first career start in the 6 car number 19 machine. He's alongside the KHI 62 of Matt Busa on row number 12. Lucky row 13 sees the second Channel 199 sim racing team entry. That's the number 2 of Zach Novak. And the team representing the Silver State, it is the Vegas Inferno, the 21 car of Michael Guest. Row number 14, we'll see the ERA Esports Team 34 of Michael Cozy Jr. and the Apex Racing Team 98 of Cody Bias. And through your top 30, the FGRXL E-Racing 14 of Seth the Merchant. Back for more, Eddie Christopher Hill going to line up alongside his Apex teammate. He's on the outside.
31st on back features a loaded list of heavy hitters, starting with Vicente Salas for Kanan Esports. Bobby Zelensky, close to the Clash win a couple of weeks ago with that new ERA Esports team. He rolls off in 32nd. Jordi Lopez for BS Plus Competition will take the grid from 33rd. Taylor Hurst, the second half of the Team Dylan Esports camp, will roll off from the 34th spot in his number 33 car. Malik Ray for Vegas Inferno, strong super speedway driver, rolls off deep in the field from 35th, with Colin Bowden for the RFK Racing camp on the outside in 36th. Donovan Strauss, the other Williams Esports Chevrolet, rolls off inside row 19. Graham Volan sticks with KCP and the Pioneers for 2025. He's got the 38th starting spot in your final row. Pair of shotgun drivers, Tucker Minter for William Byron Esports and Blake McCandless in his first eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race will bring the end of our 40-car field from Daytona.
Blake's got some work to do. I'm sure he's up for the challenge. One of 8 drivers who are rookies in this series here in 2025. That is a look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Well, will it be some of the seasoned veterans who can find victory lane here in Daytona, or will it be another first-time winner? The last 3 spring Daytona races have seen a first career winner. Does that trend continue? We consistently say year after year that the series is more competitive than it's ever been. 6 straight first-time champions over the course of the last 6 years. And again, right here tonight, doesn't matter what you've done before this, everybody with an equal opportunity. Let's bring in the 3rd member of our broadcast team. It's James Pike, who's on the radio with tonight's pole sitter.
E-Racers Logan Clampitt picks up the pole for the season opening race of the Coke Series at Daytona. Logan, does the extra track position change the way you approach this race from a strategy perspective?
You know, I don't really know. I wasn't really expecting to get the pole, but dude, that's awesome. That is totally awesome. I just want to survive, and I'm just going to see where my luck lands me at the end of the race. That's kind of my strategy, but hopefully we can kind of play it safe here. I don't know. I'm not a big super speedway racer nowadays, so we'll see how long we last up here. But it's pretty cool to start off the season on the pole, coming back into it.
He's shown plenty of speed in this race in the past. Was the runner-up in 2017, and will look to go 1 spot better by the end of this evening.
Thanks, James. We'll be checking in with James throughout the night as we talk to some of the drivers in the field in this one. Lights are out on top of the pace car. Before we let him loose, Kenneth, walk us through this one as we take a look at our race analysis.
Well, in the clash, we didn't have that long of a race, Evan, but of course tonight being the main card for 2025 at this track, we go 80 laps. That's a total of 200 miles, a bit over 320 kilometers on this Daytona oval track. Pit road speed limit will be 55 miles an hour, which will count over this window that goes nearly to about 42 laps and starts at around lap 38. So we should expect to see at least a 1-stopper if this race goes green or yellow by the time we get to the end. So we should expect 1 stop. 3 tire sets available though for all those drivers on track just in case they need it as they're ready to take the green.
Let us know in the chat who you're pulling for in this 2025 season. It is time for act number 1 of 18 on the road to $500,000. As always, happy that you're strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us as the number 42 E-Racer machine of Logan Clampitt takes control as the pace car dives down to pit road. Let's go racing at Daytona. Small advantage to the 199 on the outside of the racetrack. That's Dylan Duval. Nobody dares to go 3 wide quite yet, as Duval will look to get the speed advantage off of the banking at a turn number 2 as they head to the Daytona Superstretch.
And obviously on this first lap, it's all about getting those pre-season jitters out, making sure that you're relaxed in this first portion of the race, because we will see a ton of moves by the time we get into those final 20-ish laps when drivers start sending big-time blocks, making those moves for the race lead. But at the moment, everyone 2 by 2 from first all the way down to nearly 40th place at Tucker Minter. So over lap 1, Logan Clampitt has the advantage, and who better than to push him to the front? His teammate Tyler Gary, both of the E-Racer cars at the front, back to turn 1.
A lot of new faces, new teams, new numbers will help you with all of that over the course of the night, but it's unmistakable to see that E-Racer purple leading the inside lane and a big strategic advantage for those cars to start together. Everybody else going to have to use this first 20 laps or so to find the cars they want to work with. Gary jumps up high, out of line. He'll get pushed to the lead. You're on board with Daniel Falkenham. This is the middle of all of it. P17, and you can see the gyro cam as that car gets sucked into the banking here in Daytona Beach.
That is 31 degrees of total banking in those corners. It really is astronomical when you step on it in real life, but even in the sim, you can feel the gravity of just how steep the banking is in the middle of the corners. And with a driver like Daniel Falkingham repping a brand new team, Six Karma, that raises out of Mexico, they're one of the only Latin American teams, in fact, the only Latin American team in the Coke Series for 2025. Falkingham, by the way, was right there in the mix of it, Evan. If you remember the clash a couple of weeks ago, nearly there to the checkered flag, but just crashed off of that final corner. He's currently manning P16. As everyone shuffles up front, eRacer just switched places, probably in an effort to be by design, save a bit of gas here in the opening stint, let Tyler Gary lead a couple of the laps early.
It was a good move. Tyler Gary went to the outside, took the push from Duval and company, and then when he was able to clear back down to the inside, did. That's how that 69 and the 42 effectively swapped positions. Although that time at the stripe, it was Dylan Duval who led under the start-finish line. He's the third different driver to lead a lap. In the 3 laps that have been completed thus far, we've seen Duval, Gary, and Clampitt all get a crack at the top spot. And you can see some more teammates trying to get together. That's the Hayek Motorsports cars, the Dylan Alton, Quinton Warman. You see the Sunny D paint schemes, one on the inside, one on the outside. They are in a good spot to be in close proximity of each other so early, just right now stuck in opposite lanes. Probably too early to try to force the issue, but a good sign when you've got 2 cars inside of the top 10 early in this race. And now Gary again shields to the high side, trying to pick up the lane. That's where the advantage is. There's a look at those 2 team cars right now, both running inside of the top 10.
You know, Evan, they are both beautiful looking cars for Hayek Motorsports, but I gotta say, this is a spotter's nightmare right here. The exact same paint scheme, the only difference being the numbers on the top and sides of the race car. I mean, it is just a little bit of a difference there with the splitter on the cars, but for the most part, it is the exact same base paint scheme. But I know that Hayek Motorsports making their journey to the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Lots of excitement behind that camp, especially when they picked up Dylan Alt from Latart Esports last year, and then they got the rookie Quinton Warman to come in as one of the more successful drivers in the Contender Series last fall. So wonderful to see them make this effort early, have these 2 cars in the top 10, get them a feel of what the front looks like, because it can all change in a matter of moments.
It's good to see them back in the series. They previously competed under the JTG banner back from 2019 through 2021. Had some big names on the team back then, the likes of Nick Ottinger and others. So it's good to see them returning to the series here in 2025. They're still split up. That's that 3 car on the bottom, the Coke colors, with Blaze Crawford on board. He is one of 4 rookies inside of the top 10 as they run currently. So Nate Stewart, Connor Urashak, Quinton Warman, Blaze Crawford, a good start so far. Not a lot of big movers up here in the top 15 or so, though. A spot gained here, a spot lost there, but for the most part, this 2 wide has limited those passing opportunities for the majority of the cars at the front of this pack.
Yeah, when you go 2 wide like this, you're not exactly in a situation where you're pushing so hard to get to the front if it was the last stint of this race. So you see a lot more separation in side-by-side action, and they're not exactly aggressively side drafting each other, which means that third line, it's very narrow. And here at Daytona, you can make 3 wide work, but you're flirting near that outside wall. So when these guys are a little more widened out, especially down this super stretch, you can get a look at just how spread out wide they are heading back into turn 3. That third lane just becomes a little less viable to make, and it's only 7 laps into this race. There's not a lot of moves you can make at the front right now because there is nothing at stake other than just leading a couple of laps at this moment of the race. So you just got to look at what you can do for the moment, what moves are worth taking at this juncture, because the last thing you want to do is take a heavy haymaker, make a risk that takes you out of this race early.
And for all intents and purposes, too, really the first opportunity these drivers have all been on track with each other at once. Now, yes, they have done some other races as a large group leading up to this, but I'm not sure they were running their 100% race setup for those. So really the first opportunity where some drivers are kind of showing what they've got, and some other drivers may try to pace that a little bit. You may not want to tip your hand this early on into an 80-lap race. It is not a lot of time, but certainly some strategy still involved. There's a look at your defending series champ, Parker White. You see the championship trophy. That's the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Cup. Just behind him in frame, looking to become the first driver to go back-to-back since Ray Alfalla did that back in 2011 and 2012. He was everybody's pick on Countdown to Green. Right now in the midfield, but still a long way to go.
I think that the entire CTG crew probably waiting here with bated breath on what Parker White does. But a lot of what they harped on in that pre-race show was the patience, and Parker White has definitely elevated in that sense over the last several years as he's raced on the sim, particularly last year, used patience to his advantage. Even despite some of those races where he was nearly there, a couple inches, couple feet away from a victory, or even a couple of laps, he showed in those final two at Phoenix and at Homestead that he used the patience, he took the opportunity when it mattered most, and Parker at the moment, when where he sits, P19, he's slowly working his way forward as of lap 9. So you can never count out the former series champion in white as he mans the outside group with Tyler Gary trying to lead the bunch.
Starting to see a little bit more movement mid-pack, and of course this is the unofficial kickoff to Speed Week here on the iRacing service. There's more coming at you though, because the iRacing special event, the iRacing Daytona 500, is running this weekend, February 12th through the 17th. If you're a member on the service and you want to compete in 500 miles at the World Center of Racing, pick a split time, whether it be in an open setup race or a fixed setup race, and get out there onto the racetrack. And if you are not going to test your skills on the high banks like myself, I stay out of the professionals' way, you can join us this Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll have special coverage on one of the top splits of the iRacing Daytona 500. All of that coming at you later this week here on the iRacing Esports Network. You see front of the field for the iRacing drone cam. That was Tyler Gary moving down the hill. He's got split up from Logan Clampitt. I don't think they're that worried about it this early. A lot of movement lane to lane. Here's the perspective of Alexander Russell.
And he's one of those rookies that's trying to catch up to some of those yellow striped cars at the front of the field. I mean, Connor Euroshak now steps into the top 8. Nate Stewart had a chance at nearly leading this race a couple of turns ago, right before Dylan Alt for Hayek Motorsports and Timothy Holmes decided to surge up front and take a shot at the race lead. So the rookies are definitely stunting early on. And Evan, a couple weeks ago in that clash, they were all out. They were ready to prove themselves, even if the race had no stakes and had nothing to play for in reality to the rest of this series. They were out there to show what they've got and say, we're not afraid of all of these seasoned veterans. We can make noise. And you can see some of those yellow striped cars up in the front, especially here from this look from pole sitter Logan Clampitt. Those are the yellow stripes Connor Euroshak is wearing this season. You'll see plenty of those. I think 8 or 9 drivers total making their first effort at the series this year.
Yeah, and the reports of the rookie class going away have been widely overstated. Last year, we only had 4 rookies. That was really low compared to the average that we've seen over the last half decade or so. And we thought, okay, maybe the established veterans have kind of got a handle on things, right? But the Contender Series, the Road to Pro ladder, especially this year, opening up the pool of eligible drivers to 50, has brought us back in line with what we're used to seeing for those 8 drivers making their series debuts here tonight at Daytona. And we'll be tracking a lot of them right now. There's 6 of them running inside of the top 20, so plenty of them up in contention.
And look who's up front right now, Daniel Falkingham, who is in his sophomore eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season for that new 6 Karma Esports team. Done a great job of moving up, carving through the field with Timothy Holmes now on the outside. Falkingham was one of those drivers that in his first season got the win at Indianapolis Motor Speedway in 2024, much like some of the other first-time winners that made noise. Great to see him inside, but Timothy Holmes back up front.
And we talked about some of the teams returning to competition. How about Jim Beaver Esports back in the saddle after having competed from 2019 through 2023, and an early contender for Paint Scheme of the Year? That is Nate Stewart's number 5 Ford. That thing is good looking. And I don't know if anybody from Lionel is out there listening, but if that thing went on sale tonight, you got my pre-order at minimum 1. That is a sweet looking car, and it's good to see the Jim Beaver Esports group back in this series. And of course, good to see Nate getting his first career start in this race here tonight. And, you know, we'll talk about rookies, and there is kind of an implication of inexperience there, maybe at this level, but kind of to get to this point, all of these rookies, if you want to toss that word with some air quotes, have tons of experience in private leagues, in special events, and even the eNASCAR Road to Pro ladder, which is difficult enough in itself to qualify for, let alone get all the way through. It's going to be a long year. We want you to be with us all season long. So to keep up to date with the standings, the schedule, and even how you could qualify into this series and join our eNASCAR community, go to eNASCAR.com for more information.
and through that road to pro ladder, Evan. I mean, it's such a tough journey. That's about a year or so worth of driving to make it to this series. And now a driver who's already veteraned enough in this campaign, Casey Curran, makes the move up front to the line. And so it is unbelievable to see the way that everyone has been able to get to this series, #1. But to all those drivers who, like you said, I mean, they're rookies, but not necessarily. They've been on the service for so long already and have already raced with these drivers, whether it be in the official ranks or in the likes of Contender, when a lot of them, half of the field, were trying to work their way back to this very level. So, I mean, you got to give credit to all those rookie drivers and what they possibly could accomplish in 2025 and the journey they get there. Sometimes they say that's a little more special than the destination itself.
And from a 10,000-foot perspective, racing at Daytona might look easy, but let's go on board with Blaze Crawford. It's the Coca-Cola onboard camera. Listen closely to the throttle for that number 3 Chevrolet as he works on the inside line. So here I'm working the throttle a little bit. I will say things have opened up quite a bit. We're no longer 2x2 throughout the pack. The inside line has a pretty significant advantage. They've got about a 10-car breakaway on the inside right now. That doesn't mean cars are scared to go high. Right on cue, that 3 Machine Crawford goes up. He wants to be the leader when that momentum comes back through. But first time I've seen 3 wide, it was on the right-hand side of your screen. That was the one Malik Ray, center of it all. It's him and the 99 of Garrett Lowe.
And it happened a little earlier as well, Evan. Into corner, Alexander Russell for Kanan Esports was at the back end of the outside trail. Timothy Holmes, with a help from Parker White on the outside, made the move 3 abreast, and they sent Russell back through the field. But here is where everyone starts to get a little more comfortable with the type of race they are experiencing right now, and this is where they get a little more confident in the moves that they can throw out there. Malik Ray is one of the most seasoned super speedway racers in this series, and he has an average finish of under 5 over the last 6 or 7 races on these types of tracks. Average finish of 2.5 in the last 2 Daytona races that opened the season. So if there's any driver to watch for, it is definitely that #1 Chevrolet. And for the Vegas Inferno and Malik Ray, but he's had a tough route to get to this point after starting 35th. He's been having to climb to the field. There's a crash, and it is Dylan Duvall, the 199 car, to the inside. Several cars tapped in it, and for the first time, we've got a sizable wreck. Lap 19 for the first yellow.
Everybody dives into the grass trying to find a way through. In the end, the number of cars with damage may end up being lower than the chaos would have suggested. But you caught it right off of the bat. It was the 199 of Duvall who got spit out of line. And we were on board with Malik Ray. He was reacting to it before we even saw it. That's the racecraft in that driver looking up the road. And it's funny enough that it seems like a lot of these accidents here in Daytona happen on the straightaways, but once we got out of that 2x2, I don't know what to call it, a parade lap, but that kind of highway setting where everybody had a lead and in a lane, this is what happens. Just a little bit of staggering. We'll wait to wind it back before we take a second look, but I think a couple cars just got misaligned, and that is how quickly it can go downhill for you at about 195 miles an hour. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and when we come back, still plenty of racing to go. It's the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season opener from Daytona.
Welcome to the Proving Ground. Welcome to fist bumping, cylinder thumping, metal crunching.
Some big hits right there.
It's all or nothing for 26 weeks of the year.
The wait is finally over.
Welcome to the NASCAR Xfinity Series, only on the CW.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition. Make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
Welcome to more.
Got a great year ahead.
Where the roads don't have limits on how fast you can go.
Big crew, we're going to have to fall out right here.
Or the sights you're going to see.
Oh, we got trouble.
Welcome to new places, familiar faces, and memories in the making. Welcome to a whole new season of NASCAR.
This portion of the broadcast is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Sunoco. From fueling your favorite NASCAR teams to filling up at the pump, Sunoco is trusted to help vehicles perform at their peak. Sunoco. Performance is what we do. And by the Daytona 500. Don't miss the biggest NASCAR race of the season. The Daytona 500 is live on Fox, Sunday, February 16th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern.
Who could dare miss the Daytona 500? I'll be making the couple-hour drive to Daytona Beach this weekend as we're back live from virtual Daytona Beach, getting set to put the first caution flag of the season behind us. While we were away, Steven Wilson and everybody came down pit road. He entered 6th, exits the leader, and before he brings us to the green flag, Kenneth, let's look again at what happened.
And what caused the first yellow of this race, Evan, was the exact cause of many yellows across the clash 2 weeks ago when everyone stacks up here, especially here on the outside. That's the 17 car of Colin Bowden, rather Timothy Holmes, who gets sideways. Dylan Duvall gets stacked up in the middle of traffic, and then there's nowhere for Blaze Crawford to go. Stacks into the curved rear bumper of Duvall's machine, sends him to the inside of the racetrack. And then as they careened back up the surface, many of them collected several others, including Graham Boling, Colin Bowden, Seth the Merchant, Femi Olot, Logan Clampitt, among those that were involved in the first yellow. So all of them now on a comeback player of the year tour from lap 22 forward.
And it seems like Seth, one of the few drivers to get major damage in that one. His left front tire was not spinning as that car drove to pit road. He is a lap down on pit road. Everybody else on the lead lap as the 77 is Steven Wilson comes to the green flag as we are back underway. 22 laps down of 80 in this Daytona 200. You can see the teammates lined up alongside each other there. Eddie Kerner, Daniel Falkenham working opposite lanes right now for Six Karma, and the outside lane getting through the gears faster. They've got all the momentum through the center of the corner.
And what you'll see here as these drivers have gotten a little more comfortable are the teams getting together and making their moves. We noticed eRacer early on in this race with Tyler Gary and Logan Clampitt going to the inside and outside to command both lanes. That's part of design. It's the rhythm to adjust to what everyone else is doing behind you, but set the tone from there on forward. But Six Karma has a little work to do. Falkingham in the race lead now. Kerner just got shuffled all the way back to 7th, and that outside line, look on the outside, Connor Jurochak, help from Brian LaPrade, trying to take 5th place away into turn 1.
We mentioned the Six Karma teammates of Falkenham and Kerner, there's a look at them right now, both running inside of the top 5 and ahead a bit of the 3-wide chaos that has erupted outside of the top 10 right now. So they're pretty calm. Both cars working on the inside. Number 6 Karma, one of the 4 brand new teams to the series this season. They're joined by the likes of the Apex Racing team, the ERA Esports team, and the Vegas Inferno. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about those new teams, as well as the 14 returning, the 2 who have been away on a hiatus and came back this year to make up the field of 20 professional teams that had to pick which 40 drivers of the 50 eligible ones would actually be participating in this series here this season. And there's another one of the new teams, the 34 car, Michael Cozy Jr. with the ERA Esports team. That team headed up by NASCAR driver Jesse Iwuji. They do a ton on the iRacing service, hosting special events that the community can participate in. We've seen them on real-life NASCAR cars as well. I think of the NASCAR Chicago Street Course weekend. So good to see them involved in the service now as well.
And for ERA Esports, they couldn't have picked a better driver, Michael Cozy Jr., who in this race last season led 23 of the 83 laps. And I know on Countdown to Green, they didn't talk a whole lot about leading laps getting you to the victory, but Cozy was one of the strongest drivers then and finished inside the top 10 1 year ago. So you got to watch for Cozy, who hasn't been in the spotlight, but who has been. Malik Ray shoots up to the high alley in turn 1. They split Connor Euroshak through the middle, and with help from Zach Novak in the number 2 Channel 199 sim racing car, they're trying to take away 4th, and it is an absolute hornet's nest. Cars in the outside wall trying to get Euroshak past.
And at 40, Euroshak has got no friends. In the 2024 eNASCAR qualifying, iRacing Series champion is going to go from the penthouse to the outhouse. He was leading last time by the stripe. That car has already scored in 35th, now 36th position. That's all it takes, and he couldn't do anything about it. Malik Ray went high. He had help from the number 2 is Zach Novak and the 24 Casey Kerwin, and it was all said and done from there. And here we go again at one of Malik Ray under the 2 car in Novak this time, although the cars will stay with the car in the middle. And now Zach Novak, the odd man out. How far does that McConey setup shop Toyota Camry fall?
And that's the silver lining, Evan, here at these super speedways, is that if you do get attempted to shuffle out of line by another driver behind you, you just need to fall back and pray that the drivers behind will give you a shot on the rear bumper, because if not, you're going to end up like Novak here, or end up like the previous driver in Euroshak, just getting sent to the back of the field. Now, thankfully, you can find drivers to pick you up from there, and you will be able to gain all that track position back. But how often do we talk about sometimes runs developing over the course of maybe 10 to 15 laps? It takes a little bit, in some cases, to move to the front of the field and make a move. So it definitely killed all the momentum on the high side. Novak falls desperately back to the field. And look who's leading that outside train now. The Coca-Cola Chevrolet of Casey Kerwin making the move to the Kansas City Pioneers for 2025. And there's a spinner on the back straightaway. It is Ryan Luz that appears down low. And there are several others in there. Bobby Zelensky, Dylan Duvall skirts through the grass. And Ryan Luz, the main man in peril, but we stay green at lap 28.
Still no caution, and we're going to stay under green flag conditions after I think it was Luza who got turned for the outside lane into Bobby Zelensky, and then they kind of wish-washed all over the back straightaway. All the spins happened below the apron, though. The 5 and 8 Stewart went around. The 12, Luza did end up going all the way around as well, but there will not be a caution flag for that. Remember, those are triggered automatically in the iRacing service. So the first yellow you would have seen would have been automatically triggered by the sim itself based on where the cars were on the racetrack. And the sim has not thrown a caution for that one, deeming that those cars were off of the racing surface. You just saw the leaders get through. The backstretch is clear. So that is great news for this lead blitz of, I don't know, call it 14 cars or so that get through the chaos. And it's terrible news for the drivers involved in the accident.
It's tailed by Jimmy Mullis, that opening group, and then there's a pack of about 3 cars. But what it also does help are the cars 15th on back. It's a 4-car grouping. All of them started either 24th or worse. Tucker Minter for William Byron Esports, Kevin Harvick Incorporated's Matt Busa, Vicente Salas, and Blake McCandless, who rolled off the field from 40th at lap number 1. So they're able to pick up stuff. We'll take a look on the right side to how this all started. And again, just the faulty pushes. Everyone stacks up with all that momentum getting carried through. There's nowhere to put it away. And from there, Ryan Luza and Bobby Zelensky, the absolute heart of the impact, take a couple drivers with them. But like you said, below the double yellow line, no yellow from iRacing Race Control. We stay green coming to 50 laps to go.
Thing I noticed there is you saw the 199 of Dylan Duvall go low to avoid the accident. He slowed way up to avoid the accident and hurt by the fact that there's no yellow because while he was not technically involved, he is also dropped way back again. There's that look for the iRacing drone cam of what we'll call that secondary pack. Tucker Minter, Matt Busa, Vicente Salas, and Blake McCandless all running 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th on the racetrack. Can they catch that lead group with a numbers deficit? The last time around, they were slower than the lead group by about a half second. So if these four want to either minimize the time that they're going to lose or somehow catch that lead pack, they've got to work together. But I don't like the odds of a car, 4 cars trying to catch up to 14. The math just does not look in their favor, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and that first pack most notably is all single file. If they were side by side, maybe 3 wide, you'd give a better shot for Tucker Minter and these guys right behind to make a move and possibly catch up. But when everyone's organized nose to tail from first all the way back to that 14th spot, you have a tough mountain to climb. But I'm sure their starting position didn't necessarily intimidate them because over the last 2 years, we've seen drivers climb to finish inside the top 5 after starting 30th or worse, with Malik Ray, who did it last year to finish 2nd, Steven Wilson, who did it last year to also finish in P2. So probably a tough task for these guys to do it right now, but not impossible with under 50 laps to go. It is just going to be an absolute dagger for all of those guys, Evan, who made moves early in this race, either had to slow down for that crash on the back straightaway or lay back as they were involved in it. And all of a sudden, they desperately need a yellow or some big-time pit strategy to make this an even race.
Well, I like that you mentioned the pit strategy. You referenced it in the Logitech G race analysis, the fact that the fuel number right around halfway point in this race, because of the timing of the first and only yellow so far, we are not within our fuel window to go to the end of this race. So there are still going to be pit stops for every single car. And to that point, added strategy still to go in this race. It would be really interesting if we get long enough into the run to be able to see actual green flag pit service, because that is another thing at Daytona that can split apart packs. There's the duality of I want to pit with as many cars as I can, because if I leave with more cars, we get in a pack sooner, we can draft faster. The downside is more cars you pit with in Daytona, the more chances are that you get into a mess on pit road. Maybe the easiest pit road is a single car on the calendar, and probably the hardest pit road with friends accompanying you as you try to load these things up from 200 miles an hour down to pit road speed here of 60. There's a look at those 3 different packs. Leaders on the top, that kind of secondary group in 15th spot who continue to lose time little by little. Although the last few laps, they have started to balance things out and are maintaining at about a 3.9 second gap. Then the battle for 20th on back is the next set of race cars. You can see they're doing a bit of an exchange there to optimize the bump draft. That group for 20th is over 6 seconds off of the race leaders.
And this also, from these smaller packs, Evan, is a design play to save fuel. You saw Jordi Lopez, that BS Plus Competition Chevrolet, was at the head of that pack for 20th on back, then made the move up the racetrack, let all those cars pass on the inside, and shuffled into the wake of the car in front. If you can do that enough times, you can save enough fuel to the point where you may be able to go an extra lap or 2 ahead of the competition, and barring, obviously, the messes that could happen if you come down pit road or exit pit road solo, and then plus possible pit road speeding penalties or unsafe entries if you make a tad bit of a mistake going down there. That these guys are just thinking, we're so far back in track position, strategy is our only silver lining if we do not get a yellow. And as we stand right now, single file with nobody making moves, everyone understands on a consensus basis this may go green all the way to the end.
And you can see there is a lot of chatter on the radio for the 89 machine of Jordi Lopez. Lots of discussion happening. I don't want to say at a frantic pace, but he is in a precarious position. 22nd spot, 6.5 seconds back. Realistically speaking, this group does not have a chance to win this race if it goes green. Now, never say never. Again, they do have cars. They have strength in numbers. If the leaders start to fight a little bit, I think they can make up some time. But certainly they are on the back foot here. And I think they realize that. So that may be the reason you see such a sense of urgency in Jordy's voice there. Even though we don't know what he's saying, you can just tell that it's pretty serious. And that 34 car, second in line, the pusher, Michael Cozy Jr., jumps up, gets out of line. That'll give him a chance to cool things down a touch. And now Kwame Scott's number 36 going to get on the back bumper. He'll now push Christopher Hill.
And just like a lot of things in life, when you have pit strategy under green at Daytona, a lot of it comes down to communication. And not all of these drivers are in the same voice channel. They can't all directly communicate with each other on the racetrack. So if you don't find that aligned level of talking between each driver in that pack, whether it be a couple of cars or like we see in the main pack of about 14 deep, you won't get anywhere. You're going to lose time, and if somebody pushes the button, they be a little aggressive, and they make a move up high, and they get somebody with them, you're only going to bleed off more time to those that are commanding the rhythm of this race nearly halfway through. And as you look off the back bumper of the Apex Racing car, Christopher Hill, he watches the Sunoco Chevrolet move in the background. Kwame Scott in the attempt to save that fuel in the middle of the draft. It's going to be a long way back to the tail end of this in about Quentin Warman and Garrett Lowe on the inside of the racetrack. But it's all down to communication. If you can't communicate with the drivers around you, tough luck. You may be out of this race on strategy.
And I don't know if that was as clean as they wanted. It looked like Lopez hesitated a little bit to let Kwame Scott get in line. That didn't happen, but the onboard look there with Christopher Hill, just trying to read into his eyes, looked like he was just strictly looking in the mirror, right? Trying to figure out where that 34 car was behind him. As the lead car in that group, you want to be consistent and you want to be predictable. That's the key to being the lead car in the line, and those same things apply to the man who's leading this race that has led more laps than anybody else so far this afternoon in Briar LaPrade. You heard on Countdown to Green, Junior Motorsports, the only team to have multiple race wins here at the Daytona International Speedway in this series. And if they're going to continue that trend, it's going to either come from Briar LaPrade, who is the most recent first-time winner in this series, having gotten his first win last fall at Michigan on August the 13th, or it would have to come from Blake McCandless, who would be the newest race winner in series history if he could do it here tonight in his debut.
Yeah, and both of them have a very distinct task between each other. Briar LaPrade has the task of leading this entire field. Blake McCandless has the task of trying to make up a worthy strategy to get to the front from 18th place. So both of them obviously carrying a lot of experience in the sim, particularly Briar here in this Coke Series, where he's already become a several tenure-year driver, especially with this Junior Motorsports camp, and already impressing further as he continues to lead this race. But another veteran we haven't seen, 2020 Coke Series champ Nick Ottinger, among those drivers, Evan, that got shuffled all the way to the back of the field. This is 28th on back. Him, Blaze Crawford. How about the post hitter, Logan Clampitt, who we haven't seen since that opening crash at around lap 19. This is probably one of the worst case scenarios here. You're off turn 4 while the leaders are in the middle of the corner catching up big time with only 3 cars.
Yeah, only 3 cars is the big thing there. And the last time by the start-finish line, they lose another 2 tenths to the leaders. It's a nice mood lighting. That's that unmistakable Logitech G Blue. You want to talk about longevity, though? Nick Ottinger and William Byron Esports have been paired up since February of 2020. So for all the changes we see in this series, some things are just as you would suspect them. Let's ride on board with him. It's the Logitech G onboard camera. It's a nice transition up to his teammate, Tucker Minter, who rides in 15th spot. Here's another look at your Logitech G race format for the night. 80 laps on the board, 200 miles of racing with 3 sets of tires available. But that fuel window going to be the next topic of conversation as Tucker Minter pulls a switch there with Matt Busa, because we are within that fuel window to go to the end of this race. But we're only, Kenneth, 22 laps removed from a trip down pit road. So I don't think everyone's going to rush to pit road just quite yet, but you got options now. You could pit, fill it up all the way, go the distance, maybe not have anything left in case we start talking about eNASCAR overtime later. You could run it empty, pit with about 20 to go, give us a splash, or you could cut it in the middle and pit in about 10 laps. I will suspect those conversations have started.
You know what? Unlike Justin Malillo, I'm not very good at math. I can't handle math equations in my own head, and I can't make those, math equations up at all. So I'm not going to give an exact promise here, but I do understand that there are drivers in the field on their strategy that have to tick off some goals before they inevitably come down pit road. And for the guys 16th on back, their mindset is catch up to the main group, and that's exactly what they're doing now. They were around 2 to 3 tenths faster than that opening pack over the last several laps. They're pulling up like peekaboo at this moment of the race. So with this strategy getting a little more interesting at this portion of the race, with 37 laps to go, Minter and this group are making big time progress, and here comes the main pack into pit road with 37 to go.
Leaders down pit road, you saw some smoke in front of them. That was Dylan Duvall, who pitted with some sort of an issue separate from the race leaders. But they did decide to come down right when the bank opened, and that is a big group of about a dozen cars. Wilson, Alt, Holmes, Keister, Falkenham, Olot and Boson, LaPrade, White, Mullis, Strauss, Kerner, just to name a few. They are all down pit road. Looks like 2-tire calls is the popular one. And now when they cycle back out, look at this big conglomerate. You got to figure this out. You got to get to single file, as the lead car off pit road in this pack is the Sunny D47 of Dylan Alt.
But thankfully here, Evan, they have numbers, a lot of them much better faring than those drivers at the front of the field now, and look like only 3 cars are coming in pit road this time. Malik Ray follows suit. Taylor Hurst is in there as well, and so they've got only 3 there. Malik Ray making a gamble at this puncture of the race, trying to see what he can do by himself. Tucker Minter leading this race now, and this is where you perform the overcut. You spent so much of this race at the back foot of all of the mercy of those top 15 drivers. Here is where you extend your run by just a little bit, extend the gap from those all the way behind, and by the time you come out of pit road, you can blend in turn 2 or on that Daytona super stretch with the race lead. Busa will take the lead, and we'll see what they do off turn 4.
Those cars all pitted with about 36 to go. If you credit them with the long range of that fuel window, they would have some fuel available for overtime, but I feel like if we get a yellow and overtime's an option, you may see more trips to pit road anyways. We'll keep an eye on that, though. And now if you're this pack, which assumes the race lead, do you modify your strategy based on the fact that the leaders have pitted? Or do you stick to your guns? Do you ride it out to whatever number you would have had? Again, I am not a super speedway ace, but I can tell you the eye test watching these cars, Kenneth, they are not as in sync as that lead pack was when they were the lead group. Now, you can look to lap times and square that away quite quickly. Some lap traffic going to be a factor as they yield high to get around the 36 car. That's Kwame Scott, but these cars seemingly not responding. They stay out there. Big check up there, though. Trouble. Cozy sideways in the grass. Back up and onto the racing surface. Is there going to be a caution? Yes, there is.
And that changes everything for that main pack. I was about to say they are peaking at that relative to those 15th on back, where they were about 21.7 seconds off of the main group that was leading this race. You get one caution flag, and you turn things around in a big-time manner. Cozy with a singles car spin in the tri-oval, and we've got a pivotal yellow inside 33 to go.
We were watching that one live, and it was just a stack up on the inside. Let's wind it back and take a look. Matt Busa, the leader, the 11 is Salas, then the 8 of McCandless. And as they head into the trial, watch the 11, drops off the bumper there of the 62. I don't know if he was just trying to breathe, but that accordion effect spits Cozy out. And when he went up onto the racetrack, look out. Thankful that there was no other pack there to clean him out. I think that ERA machine gets away with minor damage, but man, does that shake things up, because yes, we are within the scheduled distance to be able to go on fuel, but I'm assuming the pack that had just come down pit road, they'll stay out. Let's catch back up with James Pike.
We'll take a moment to catch up with RFK's Colin Battle. You got caught up in one of those earlier incidents. Colin, what did you see from your perspective as the chaos unfolded in front of you down the back?
I think it was just a bad push on somebody, or they just got tangled up, and then we're all just flying into these crashes because they don't throw the yellow unless the game does it. So we just piled up into it there, and it knocked the left front off somehow. That was really unfortunate to see. We have terrible luck in this Daytona race. Our RFK Ford Mustang, we were coming to the front there, started like 38th, and we had gotten to the top 5, 10 at one point, and then we just got all jumbled up there, and another last place finish at Daytona. That's, I think, 4 years in a row on us, so we got a good record going there, and we'll try and bounce back next week, wherever I think we race Vegas next. Try and have a better run there.
Vegas, 1.5 miles that a lot of drivers look forward to in this series. Colin Bowden going to look for a rebound out west.
So at the start that the RFK Racing entry about and wanted tonight. But again, though, plenty of opportunities later this season. So all the cars who were in that lead pack, not involved in the accident, they come down pit road. That was all to be expected. They're going to be able to get fuel. If you're only trying to stay within the stopwatch of what it takes to get gas, you'll probably go for a 2-tire decision. Some, though, because we're pitted under yellow, may opt to go for 4. It's going to be 2 for Busa at least. And what that'll do is all the cars who we just saw pit under green, Kenneth, they do stay out. That's what we were expecting to see. And Dylan Alt, who is notably the first car off pit road of that pack, does cycle out and will be our race leader again. Second in line, that's because Garrett Lowe is technically the last car on the lead lap. He'll get waved by to recycle to the back of the field, assuming he doesn't come down pit road the next time through. But that 47 is indeed back to the race lead.
And with everything that's happened, I mean, that second group of cars that were catching up and had pitted earlier, this is the caution they needed to catch back up, because obviously the field will be all together again, and that's certainly something that helps the main pack that it stayed out up until this point. But if you're talking long green flag strategy and the way the trajectory is going for those guys, all of those drivers who had stayed out and left it all on the line for the overcut strategy, you know, they were going to pit, but they had a viable chance at easily catching back up to the group and making it a proper race. So it just levels everyone out. No worries about strategy, which is a positive sign, but for a lot of the drivers could be some negatives. We've got James Pike with Michael Cozy Jr.
Michael Cozy Jr. representing ERA. Michael, was that just a case of a bad push coming into the tri-oval, or was that something else?
Yeah, no, I'm not really sure what it looked like on on the broadcast there, but that was one of the most odd moments I think I've ever had driving. It was something network related, as far as we could understand it. I got really lucky to come away with that, fix our damage there. Only about 12 seconds pulling out the fenders, but yeah, I was telling them boys that was one of the weirdest things that ever happened at Daytona.
So is the hardest thing just you've lost the track position? Sounds like the damage wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's really frustrating because we spent, we took the first half here to set up for the second half, and just like that, in one moment, it kind of throws all that work in progress away. So we got a really fast ERA eSports Chevrolet here. We're going to take this thing back to the front, hopefully, but yeah, it's gonna be tough. We have it fixed, and we still got some team cars out here. It's going to get real messy here, but I think we got plenty of time.
Car's fixed, but he's going to have to come all the way from 27th in this field when we get back going.
Oh, I know it's not how he wanted it to happen, but the benefit of the caution flag is, to Kenneth's point, everybody going to be grouped back up and ready to go, and maybe that false sense of security that we were lulled into by thinking this was going to be split up across multiple packs and we were going to see some strategy. There may still be some elements of that, but we're back, and we're going to have a 35-car lead pack when the green flag drops once more. 2 drivers are out of this race. Seth the Merchant has gone behind the wall. His night officially done in 40th position. You heard from Colin Bowden. His night's done. Technically not a DNF yet on the score sheet, but he's 29 laps down in 39th position. And then you'll have Ryan Luza, Bobby Zelensky, and Dylan Duvall all running 1 lap down. They will be kind of in a 3-car battle for the lucky dog position should we see another caution flag in this race to get up here and rejoin the party. There were some moments, Kenneth, in those opening laps where there was 3 wide, but it was more so somebody shuffled out of line or getting taken advantage of. Now inside of 30 to go and inside of the fuel window to get to the end of this race, I think it's about to get way more crazy.
Whatever we saw in the first sector of this Daytona race, well, it's going to be the complete opposite of that. We saw faint 3 wide, but not as much. We're going to see full 3 wide and a lot more aggression. Remember, all 3 of our Countdown to Green members selected the race leader right now, or the second place car, Parker White, to win this race. He's got a good look at the front of the field, but still a lot of time left to play out.
Dylan Alt assumes control of the field. He's lined up alongside defending series champion Parker White, who has driven his way through the field from 18th spot on the grid. With 29 laps to go from Daytona, green flag back in the air.
And there's a solid jump to the inside. It's Spire Motorsports' Steven Wilson, Eddie Kerner for 6 Karma making the move down low, and nobody, it appears, is helping Parker White right now apart from the saving grace in a Williams Esports teammate. Outstretched arms for Donovan Strauss. It packs up everybody on the high line, but Dylan Alt in command off turn 2, and here they come up high.
And the 19 car wants to take advantage of the Williams teammates on the outside. That is Eddie Kerner, who jumped up from the bottom lane. Now he has the advantage. One car around towards the back. It's Nate Stewart. Reels it back in. No caution. Will stay green, but he'll drop off and lose touch with the lead pack. That sees Alt pushed by Steven Wilson in those new green 77 colors lined up on the bottom. When this outside line comes, and they'll have a run, does Wilson stick with Alt on the bottom, or does he look to jump to the outside? They're closing in.
And part of what you see in the super speedway racing are the moves made at specific times and specific places on the racetrack. Wilson didn't go up high because he noted the inside line would have the run in the middle of the corner. It's off of turn 2 and off of turn 4, where if you see that outside line start to make a push, you can hit the check mark and make that decision. And here comes one, the 33 car for Team Dylan Esports. Taylor Hurst makes the jump up high to the sky. We'll see what he does here, but at the moment, Dylan Alt still in control by about 4 or 5 car lengths.
It's a good look at those Williams Esports teammates on the left-hand side of your screen. Not a lot of chatter at this point. You know what the situation is. A lot of this now comes down to muscle memory when you got to make quick decisions like this. It's not to say it's not methodical, but it is not those thought-out moves of push and drop back and push, drop back. Let's, make up time. This is all about taking advantage of the opportunities that sit in front of you. Still only 2 wide amongst the leaders, but starting to see a little bit of staggering happen. I saw Malik Gray looking to the outside. That shouldn't shock anybody from back there in traffic. He's always antsy to make the 3rd lane happen. Now his 1 car's on the bottom. He's about the 6th car in line down on the inside. But that is a pack of 33 race cars separated by less than 2 seconds from one another. And what an aggressive dive from the 77 as Wilson comes to the inside.
That was an absolute heave to the bottom of the racetrack. We noted whether Steven Wilson would make the move up high, and as soon as Jimmy Mullis entered the foreground, that's when Wilson went to stage right, moved up high, and all of a sudden KHI, with both of their teammates inside the top 10, could make a move. Mullis in the race lead for the moment down the super stretch. Big time push from Hurst and Company on the outside to turn 3.
Small advantage for them. Can they keep this pace up, though, for the 26 laps that are left to go in this race? Now the advantage yields to the inside line. Wilson rockets ahead. LaPrade pushing aggressively. That 47 to Dylan Alt is a sandwich right now on the inside line of this racetrack. First time tonight talking about the likes of Taylor Hurst, even Jimmy Mullis, who started back in the 20s. It is a new look top 10, and look at the 19 at Kerner going to a 3rd lane. Can he find support? The 95 of White goes with him, and in the end, everybody goes high and leaves the 33 at Taylor Hurst.
4 cars right behind Jimmy Mullis on the outside lane, and they are 2 teams represented in 1. 6 Karma there with Eddie Kerner and Daniel Falkingham, and the 2 Williams Esports Chevrolets of Parker White and Donovan Strauss. They couldn't make a move, and that's exactly what we saw at the tail end of the clash a couple of weeks ago. They hooked up together, and with ERA Esports, they had a chance at the race win, and so did Williams Esports when they got it with Parker White. But watch where Taylor Hurst is going. Backwards, he picks up help from Michael Cozy Jr. They're still 3 wide, back to turn 1, and Steven Wilson finds a mess of his own in the rearview mirror.
This time it's Jimmy Mullis who has no help on the outside. McCandless thinks about it, stays low. Mullis going to drop out of the top 10 until he finds a life preserver. And Femi Olatunbosin back in the low teens. So he'll jump back into the mix. Up front from high to low again, Steven Wilson making that race car awfully wide on the front row. You mentioned those two team cars lined up on the outside. Before Mullis went back, it was he and his teammate Matt Buser from the KHI group. They had two cars inside of the top 10, so we're starting to see those long-term plans come out for some of these teams and trying to get themselves in position to make that race-winning move whenever that opportunity arises. There's a look on board with the Sunoco Chevrolet of Kwame Scott, and that is a daunting task in front of him to get around those race cars and try to win this race.
It's a special perspective here up high on the roof because you can see the entire line of cars entering the 31 degrees of banking. But when you're in the wheel, behind the wheel of the cockpit in the race car, you can only about see the car's rear bumper right in front of you. And watch this, 3-wide move. Malik Ray punting his way to the front, and they're crashing off turn 4. Cody Bias goes into the inside wall. They bring several others with them. Are the cars going to reverse to the trial? Will they do? Matt Buser recollects the race car and will stay green with 22 laps to go. It is madness down the inside, and Daniel Falkingham to the race lead in turn 1.
Tobias and Busa get spit out, but for the second time tonight, an incident does not bring a caution flag out, and as we're 3 wide for the race lead, Daniel Falkingham now leads, but without his teammate. That team car down to the inside line, Eddie Kerner working on the bottom. Let's take a second look at what happened. Live pictures on the left-hand side of your screen. Replay going to be over on the right-hand side, and as the leaders fight for the win, you look on the right-hand side of how this happens. We're 3 wide, a stack up on the outside, and eventually there's always one car that gets spit out of line. I know they've all been a little bit different, but all 4 of the accidents we've seen so far today, Kenneth, have had some element of a checkup and one car getting spit out of line. It's part of the game here.
Well, I don't know if the Countdown to Groove crew will give any sort of hashing to Blake McCandless there for being sort of involved in that incident, but there's nowhere for him to go. He just gets pushed into that space, and there's nothing that he can do other than try to lay back and pray that it all works out, but unfortunately it doesn't. And then you get all those cars collected on the outside, going down to the inside, ricocheting across the racetrack.
Some lap traffic. The leader's going to have to yield high to get around the number 5 of Nate Stewart. Here's Blake McCandless's onboard perspective from the accident. Again, getting pushed from behind. You can see it right there, the Treetop Chevrolet in his bumper. He is just as much of a passenger in that scenario as the car that got turned off of his nose. He's just fortunate he wasn't the one who got spit out of line. And now we see some openings in this lead pack. That did not split this lead pack up nearly as much as the non-yellow earlier in this race did. This will still condense back into one big pack, but at least for a moment in time, some single file and an opportunity for these leaders to catch their breath. If you're Eddie Kerner, Daniel Falkingham, and the Williams cars behind them, enjoy the opportunity while you can, because you know, give it a lap or two, they'll be knocking on your door.
Well, in some cases, we argued whether 3 wide would happen early in this race. Now it's about who swings down low, who makes the move to the inside to join the Spire Motorsports Chevrolets. They're going to pick up some help here. That's Blaze Crawford in the Coca-Cola Chevrolet, Malik Ray back in the 1 car for Vegas Inferno, and now here comes Femi Ola. He's ditching his teammate through the middle, but there's no one to help. They're trying to shuffle off turn 2, and no success. Evan Pusoko down the super stretch, inside line, gets an even worse jump off the corner, and they have an even tougher hill to climb coming to 18 laps to go.
It was hard to tell if that 7 wanted to get away from his teammate or just got moved up and out of the way. And we talk about the new teams to this series. How about 6 Karma? We mentioned the international flavor being added to this, the Latin esports team. Always fun to see the mix of real-world NASCAR teams, esports properties, and all the other different groups that get involved in this series. This is just about as good of a season debut as they could have asked for. Getting a lot of good screen time up front, but hoping that they've got good karma to get to the end of this race. Those 2 teammates have been loyal. I'd say maybe more loyal than most of the teammates in this race thus far. But look at this on the bottom. They're not the only ones. How about the Vegas Inferno? They're lined up as well with the number 21 of Ashita Michael Guest and that 1 of Malik Ray.
Well, that's the pride of Latino America, buscando la bandera off turn 4. The 2-6 Karma cars making the move up high. But you're right, still plenty to play with down low. And Malik Ray said on social media a couple of hours before we took the green flag here from Daytona that in a teammate like Michael Guest, it gives him so much confidence to make moves, particularly at these super speedways, when he can trust the driver that's on his other side for this Vegas Inferno squad. There's a look on board from Ray, who sits right behind Guest. And like you see on the back bumper of the Chevrolet in front, they're trying to bring the heat in these final 17. They're pushing Steven Wilson and Casey Kerwin to the front to make them even in turn 3.
And you can see the chaos from your down and in the mix there. I mean, all of those little movements, half a lane up, half a lane down, can be so costly at this speed and at this point in the race. It was a good look on board with both Malik and, of course, with Michael. Michael now second car in line on the bottom because the 77 Wilson jumped back up to the outside. He's rocking on his own and without the support at the moment of his teammate, Femi Olatunbosin, the second of the Spire cars, tail end of this lead pack that is 24 cars strong. They have all grouped back up. And this time by, going to be looking at 15 laps to go in the season opener of this 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Big advantage to the outside. Do they all stick with Wilson, or do those 6 Karma machines look to make a move here?
Well, at the moment, when you see that inside line as far back as they are, they're kind of in that back part of the run where they just sort of start to make the move forward, but at the moment they're still trying to pick up that momentum. I wouldn't move if you're 6 Karma right now, or even if you're Parker White sitting there back and forth with his teammate Donovan Strauss behind. That's when you see the inside line pick in, and that's when you can start making the move down low. But for right now, you've got several great drivers who are known to push well and have been commanding the rhythm of this race inside the final 15. So no need to panic if for the 2-6 Karma Esports Ford Mustang dark horses. Stay up high, stay with the momentum where Steven Wilson is.
And Steven Wilson has done just about everything at the top level of sim racing. The 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion, and would love to be the first driver who is headed to the playoffs here in 2025. There's a little bit of an added bonus on top of that for this Daytona race specifically. $1,000 in cash prizes going to the drivers who finish inside of the top 3. As we go on board, it's the Gyro Cam with Tyler Gary.
And this is one of those teams who's been in the series for a couple of years. This is probably one of the most fun teams in this series, an e-racer with Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle, those two main men at the head of the ship with e-racer, with putting on iRacing events across the sim, and then just representing this team in eNASCAR. They had Tyler Gary last season. They bring in a veteran in Logan Clampitt, and it's one of the more exciting teams to see. And there's a bunch of 3 wide behind. Blake McCandless trying to follow in the footsteps of his teammate Brian LaPratt and Blaze Crawford as they push Jimmy Mullis through the middle. I think all the momentum that gets pushed to the front is a product of what happens back here, and as they sort of dissolve a bit, could hurt those guys at the front.
Nobody wanted to be in the footsteps of Jimmy Mullis there. He was the one through the sucker hole in the center. And then number 29 drops all the way to P20 again in the blink of an eye. You can work 68 some odd laps to get to this position. And all it takes is for you to make a move and nobody go with you, or for the car behind you to step out of line, and it could all be gone just that quickly. 2-lap cars on the outside, Dylan Duvall and the number 39 machine, they yield high, so the inside has to snake a little bit, a bit of a serpentine move to try to get through. As those 2 cars on the outside hold their ground, they're going to get kind of picked up by this lead pack by the draft. It's a good strategic move for those cars who want to avoid losing as many laps as possible. Does not affect the leaders though, but here's a huge run on the inside. Brian LaPratt getting pushed by Casey Kerwin, and a 3rd lane enters the fold. It's led by the 2 of Zach Novak.
And Evan, having to get by those lap cars on the outside breeds the possibility of a 3rd lane, and we're 3x3 several rows deep. Look at the migration down low for Casey Kerwin and Zach Novak trying to push Steven Wilson. Kerwin wants more to the high side, looking underneath the Chevrolet, facing the Spire Motorsports car to the inside for the lead.
All former champions running first, second, and third for the moment. The move to the inside does not work for Kerwin, and the 97 to Tucker Minter does not offer a helping hand. They had way too much speed to shove the 24. They moved high to get around him, and now that 24 at Kerwin, leader at the start-finish line, is 14th. By the time we get a half a lap in the books from that point, the numbers favor the outside. Nobody else with Minter in the 15 car, a Keister on the bottom until they get all the way back to Jordy Lopez and the 96 of Christopher Hill down on the bottom as well. They'll get together, they'll get the momentum, and then watch for the inside to come charging hard. But for this moment in time, the outside is the place to be. Make it 10 laps to go in the season opener.
And the catalyst of all this, they'll move around those 2 lap cars on the high side, and it brings those drivers who started in the back of this field that are working their way forward, or guys that we didn't see in the spotlight until right now. Colin Keister and that Jim Beaver Esports Ford sitting third on the inside. The 4th car there, the BS Plus competition car of Jordy Lopez. And how about Christopher Hill, one of the 8 rookies in this 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series? They're finally sharing the front-running spots with these guys that are making moves at the head of the field. Zach Novak peeks underneath. There's a big time push. Casey Kerwin will get Zach Novak to the front to 9 laps to go.
Zach Novak representing the folks over with the Channel 199 Sim Racing team, the rebranded name for the team that was formerly Nitro Circus Sim Racing team for the last couple of seasons, is all over the racetrack. He's putting the moves to Steven Wilson that Steven Wilson was doing to him about a dozen laps ago. High to low, trying to follow the momentum. You see the check in the background. This man's been there, been to the top of the mountain, and done that. And he wants to do it again in 2025. He now has the advantage down the back straightaway, but it is a who's who of names in the top 6 right now. Novak, Wilson, Kerwin, all exchanging the race lead. And you can see Zach Novak, I don't know if he's blinked since we look in there. Finally, he breathes a moment at 8 laps to go.
They call that locked in right now in these final 8 laps from Daytona. And what's going to creep up is another pack of lap traffic cars in the form of Nate Stewart, Matt Busa, and Cody Bias. So 3 cars that are on the inside that everyone at the front of this field has to now get around. It could possibly open up another 3-wide train here, Evan, like it did the last time by, and get some more guys a shot at leading the race. There's a spinner at the back to the inside. Donovan Strauss and Quentin Warman, it looks like they get into some trouble, tussling down the super stretch. But because they are underneath the racing line, no yellow flag as Zach Novak brings them around to 7 laps to go.
Colin Keister's got a lot of speed here. He's pushed by Jordy Lopez. Do they have space in the middle? Yes, they do. Lapped cars stay to the double yellow line. Leaders hold the fence, but on the offense is Colin Keister and company. They get clear. Kerwin likes what he's seeing, though. He'll jump down and pick that momentum up all for himself as Casey Kerwin gets the nose out in front, enjoys the push, jumps right back up to the outside. He is playing chess at the front of the field.
And this is a guy in Casey Kerwin, Evan, that has not won the opening race at Daytona. We mentioned on the pre-race show just how pivotal this first race can be at getting new drivers to the checkered flag. And while Kerwin has won plenty of races in his Coke Series career, he's never won the opening race at Daytona. Won plenty of Clash races, but never this one coming to 6 laps to go. And Eddie Kerner, big-time hitter at the last end of this race, has a broken toe link. He'll head down pit road. His race over in the final 6.
Similar to the damage that took Seth the Merchant out of this race, he comes down at the 6 to go marker. Another big block from Casey Kerwin. One thing you've noticed in this lead pack is those teammate assignments, those duos that had held on with each other for so long, no longer that committed to each other. The 77 car, that's Wilson. He goes to the bottom. His teammate, the 7 of Olatin Boson, we went on board with Femi. What was it, 10 laps ago, and he was 20-something cars out of this thing? He is now in the top 5 and pushing the 95 of Parker White. How does he play into this race, and does he work with his teammate who leads the outside? For this moment in time, Daniel Falkingham has the advantage on the bottom inside of 5 laps to go.
And Daniel Falkingham was in this position nearly at the end of the Clash a couple of weeks ago, and I know that doesn't mean much, but in the case of getting into the rhythm of the draft with all the drivers around, this is a very specific moment. Falkingham might have been that driver to take the checkered flag, and it took a crash in 3 and 4 to take him out.
Want to remind you, if you want to keep up with us all season long, see the standings, the schedule, and how to join the eNASCAR community, you can find all of that information and more at eNASCAR.com today. 4 laps to go this time by. One more reminder, scan the QR code if you're not already a member of NASCAR Fan Rewards. Earn 150 points for joining us here tonight in this season opener at the Daytona International Speedway. And of course, if you want more eNASCAR action coming up next, the time attack is open soon for the eNASCAR College iRacing Series from the Iowa Speedway. Up front, 2 team cars working opposite each other. The 7 of Olatin Bosin will push Kerwin to the lead, and with an anchor off of the deck lid, Wilson drops out of the top 5.
And there's going to be a mess. They're 4 wide. Blake McCandless is turning to the outside wall. He'll stack some others with him. There goes Blaze Crawford and Brian LaPrade to the outside barrier. Yellow flag with 4 laps to go. And surely we'll kick 2025 off with a bit of overtime.
We talked about it out loud. It's always a possibility here in Daytona, and they just got a little bit too stacked up. It's a block courtesy of the 77 of Steven Wilson. Who I had mentioned was falling back like he had dropped an anchor out of the back of that Chevrolet after his teammate decided to push Kerwin instead of him. He put a big block on the inside lane. It checked them all up, and they just can't go 4 wide at Daytona. 3 wide. Hard enough in its own right. 4 wide like that, though, was never going to work. You saw the couple of cars that involved in the accident, and this will indeed push us into NASCAR overtime. Let's take a second look.
Well, here's where it all begins, right? Where Blake McCandless is that C4 Energy Chevrolet, and it's a big-time stack-up that results from the inside lane. It's Steven Wilson, who has no draft, and with the way these next-gen cars are, you get such a big run in the wake of the other, and all of a sudden, you get some guys that stack up. But when Malik, Ray, and Michael Guest push it 4 wide because they're absolutely sending it, there's not that much real estate to maneuver around. Here's a look from one of the Kevin Harvick Incorporated cars behind, and as McCandless gets put into the wall. At first, it's not a real red flag because he stays in the racing line. No one else spins, but it's Blaze Crawford that bangs off of the 8 car and then gets into Brian LaPrade, and Junior Motorsports gets swept up in one fell swoop in these final couple of laps.
And not what they wanted to see after both of those cars were wrecked into each other off of turn number 4. So close. That onboard look from Jimmy Mullis showed you he got tagged late in the right rear quarter panel by the number 15, a Colin Keister. Did a great job of keeping that treetop Chevrolet pointed the right direction, and it'll keep him in contention through the end of this one as we bring back in James Pike.
And we brought back to the broadcast booth one Blake McCandless, who knows this side of the broadcast pretty familiarly. But Blake, caught up in there in that incident, was that just a case of so many variables that you have to manage and just not being able to keep track of all of them?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It was just a situation where I didn't want to give up the top no matter what. And it was just going to stay in line and do whatever we could to make sure we got to the end and got a good finish. And we had a really fast C4 Energy Chevrolet. We, started last and had a great drive through the field. We worked so hard just to stay attached to a bunch of groups. So unfortunately here, we're not totally killed, but we do have a good bit of damage, but we can at least get rolling. So we'll at least try to stick it out and see if we can't get some points to try and end this deal.
And turn his attention to Las Vegas, where he'll have an opportunity to rebound at the end of this month.
I know that's not the way Blake wanted to be chatting with us for the first time of this season. Again, to his point there, had an incredible drive through the field. It's, might I say, very nice to see those blue and yellow colors on that 8 machine. Brings back a lot of nostalgia, but I know it's not how he wanted this event to go. And to be fair, so many drivers have had some issues in this race. Most of them, I think, have gotten away with it. I'm just going to come out and say it, Kenneth, and if I'm the reason for a jinx, then so be it, because I've done many of those over the years, but we've had a 2-car incident here, a 3-car incident there. There's a whole lot of race cars that'll make it to the scheduled distance in this race, but I don't know if they'll make it all the way to the checkered flag. So far, we've been able to avoid, I'm going to say it, the dreaded big one.
those two words were hanging on by a thread. Scheduled distance, because everyone can, but I mean, there's still a couple of laps left to go with the 3 attempts that we have to finish eNASCAR overtime. And, you know, we had a sizable crash earlier on in this race. It took out several drivers on the back straightaway, but here the aggression is so high. I mean, you have to never count out the possibility of a big crash that can take everybody out. And how many times have we seen on the white flag lap, drivers crash in the middle of 3 and 4 or down the super stretch, and it's one driver, one lucky driver who pushes through, gets away from the splitted seas, and captures the checkered flag. We could very well see that happen again tonight.
And the drivers in contention for this win have come from everywhere on the starting grid. Tucker Minter started in 39th position. He's in 5th. Tyler Gary started 3rd. He's in 3rd. There is no equation that tells you how to get into contention and avoid the chaos at a super speedway race. All that matters is you've gotten to this point, and now you have to try to execute. This will be attempt number 1 of 3 at eNASCAR overtime. If we make it all the way around to the white flag, this race is official, and it does not matter what happens in the final 2.5-mile stretch. First car to the checkered flag wins. If we do not get to the white flag and there is an accident, we will try this thing all over again. Reminder, there are 3 attempts maximum to finish this race under a green flag condition. Lead pack is going to be 30 cars strong. There are several champions in the mix. There are some first-timers. Connor Urashak, 4th position, looking for a first career win. And it is 5 miles between you and a ticket to the 2025 playoffs. No holds bar. Here we go. Kerwin, the control car on the inside of the front row, alongside the 7 of Femi Olatunbosin, with 2 laps left to go. Green flag back in the air.
And this is the exact jump you wanted if you're anyone on the inside or outside lane. Not let the lead car push out by several car lengths to create a stack up at the exit of turn 2. It will help Femi Olatunbosin here. He'll switch to the inside, take over the top spot on the bottom against Casey Kerwin. And the rookie Connor Urashak gets the push from Falkingham, battling for the lead down the back straightaway.
Inside lane, tantalizingly empty. Does anybody dare go for the 3rd lane? It's the penultimate time into turn number 3. Pinching down is Urashak, leading the outside line. Olatunbosin slides up. He goes. The 24 gets sideways. Kerwin out of shape. What a save. And here comes Urashak, looking to make this race official. And as they come to the white flag, 1 lap to go.
But Urashak is in the dreaded catbird seat. He is at the mercy of all the moves that can be made, and here they go to the inside. Daniel Falkingham bangs off the Sunoco Chevrolet for the top spot. Steven Wilson behind, and it's Parker White, Zach Novak, and then Urashak to make it 5 cars looking for the win down the super stretch.
A lot of battling outside of the top 6. Are they close enough to make a factor? You got 2 sets of 2. Pushing the 39 of Falkingham is Wilson. Here comes White to the outside. He gets blocked by Wilson. Wilson goes around now. Sideways for Parker White. It's all Steven Wilson at a turn number 4. The challenges are going to come just too late. And Steven Wilson opens the season with a win in Daytona Beach.
And that's a driver, Evan, that has won the series championship, has won so many races over his career. This one has eluded him. Steven Wilson, for the first time, is a winner in 2025. And in unbelievable fashion, Wilson put himself in the right place at the right time. And this shaped up with at least 20 or so laps to go, where Wilson had made the aggressive moves, put himself up front. We questioned what could he do in those final laps, especially with Femi Olatunbosin, his teammate around him. Wilson capitalizes to win here at Daytona tonight.
He made the right moves at the right time, and Steven Wilson will become the 8th driver in series history to get 10 or more race wins. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR, as it is Steven Wilson, career race win number 10. And the former series champ is kicking things off in 2025 on the right foot as he held off the defending champ in Parker White. How about that? The run to the checkered flag featuring the last 2 series champions. I think Parker got tagged a little bit in that run off of 4, and it stymied the run just enough for Steven Wilson to outlast him to the start-finish line. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race, and Kenneth, it comes down to far more than just the end of this. It came down to getting in position, but coming to the 1 to go, he's 3rd in line on the outside, admittedly not in the best position.
Yeah, but Falkingham here, the 6 Karma car in front of Wilson, is going to be instrumental in this. They push Connor Euroshak to the front. They get to the white flag, and Euroshak, again, waiting in the rearview mirror, seeing what could happen, and all of a sudden it ignites entering turn 1. Falkingham decides, let's go. He goes to the inside. Wilson says, I'll follow you. Got enough cars behind him to support, and Euroshak gets pushed into the distance here. But it's on this back straightaway where Steven Wilson plays his cards correctly. He sees Parker White back off to the front bumper of Zach Novak. He sees the run that's going to develop here. They push each other right to Wilson's back bumper, and that's when Wilson decides he's going to move to the high skies and let Falkingham decide his own fate on the inside line. Beautiful block on Parker White as Falkingham tries to side draft. Look at the save by Parker to keep that Chevrolet intact. And then it's the last gap, not that much distance left to cover, and Steven Wilson just needs to look behind and just cover off all presses. Steven Wilson with the W in fantastic fashion here from the World Center of Racing.
And you saw that tap from the 39 to the 95. That got White just loose enough for Steven Wilson to build the gap that he needed to be able to go the distance. We transition into the Sunoco post-race report, as race number 1 of 18 is in the books here in 2025. Let's get a word with tonight's race winner. It is Steven Wilson.
Well, Steven, you've won a series championship. You now have double-digit wins in your Coke Series career, but this is the first time you've won at the World Center of Racing to kick off the season. What does it feel like to take the W like this?
Yeah, this is absolutely awesome. I'm so pumped to win Daytona. This is not a place that I'm really fond of racing at usually, but I feel like it worked really well here. I got to thank everybody at Spire, GGT for being on the car, Team Chevy, everybody who's behind the scenes, everybody at NFR. We worked there great. Me and Falk were there. It's unfortunate he fell way back there at the end due to what happened, but man, I was about to blow up going into 3, blocked Parker perfectly, and he just about wrecked. So that gave me plenty of room to just kind of calm down, and I'm just so pumped to win at Daytona, and hopefully this leads me right into the playoffs.
You didn't lock yourself into the playoffs until the 4th race last year. This time it's only 1. How much confidence does that give you heading into the rest of the year?
Yeah, it gives me a lot of confidence. You know, I'm pretty confident I can win at every racetrack on the schedule, especially now if I'm winning at Daytona. So I said it before the race, to win them all, you got to win the first one. So our goal is to win all 18 right now still and take that championship at the end of the year.
Well, Steven, we appreciate the time. Congratulations on kicking off 2025 with a W. We'll see you and the field at Las Vegas in a couple weeks' time.
Thank you. Go Hawks.
Steven Wilson takes the W here at Daytona. 3rd place, Malik Ray. Malik, over the last 2 here at Daytona, you've had an average finish of 2.5. With 3rd tonight, your average finish goes to 2.6. It's nearly the same. What is that like with the magic you've captured at the super speedways, especially at the end?
I'm just always pretty close at the end, and I just be trying to just close it out, and just sometimes I just can't do it. But I mean, I have to thank my teammate in the 21. It was Michael Guest. If it wasn't for him, like I would have never gotten up there. So I appreciate him a lot for his help.
Another season where you start the season with a podium finish at the World Center of Racing. Malik, congratulations on the podium shot, and we'll see you at Las Vegas in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you, man.
That is Malik Ray taking away 3rd place, Evan Pasoko here from Daytona.
Well, big thanks to Steven and Malik for giving us a little bit of time post-race to chat with them as we take a look at your Coca-Cola full race results, and they are powered by Sunoco, the official fuel of NASCAR. So Steven Wilson, final margin of victory is 0.039 seconds. How about 9 of the top 10 spots, all Chevrolet bow ties? Parker White in 2nd. That's a pretty good way to back up a season-ending win last year as a P2. We heard from Malik in 3rd. Zach Novak comes home 4th tonight, and Tucker Minter comes home in 5th. Casey Kerwin in the number 6 spot. Femi Olatunbosin follows his teammate up with another top 10 result. He'll be in the number 7 spot. Jordy Lopez comes home at 8th spot. Dylan Alt in 9th. Jimmy Mullis, P10.
And back in 11th, that's where Connor Euroshak is. Led the race to the white flag and then falls back outside of the top 10. We've got tons of great drivers here. Tyler Gary, Colin Keister, Daniel Falkingham, who was in the lead briefly down the super stretch. How about Alexander Russell? First race in the Coke Series, 15th place for Kanan Esports. And then you got Michael Guest, Timothy Holmes, Graham Bolam, Donovan Strauss, who actually recovered from a two-car spin down the back straightaway, survives to get into a top 20 spot. But Sente Salas didn't run the Clash a couple of weeks ago. He ends up 20th tonight.
Brian LaPrade adds to the stat that you maybe don't want to be the driver who leads the most laps at a Daytona race. He leads more than anybody else with 17, comes home in P26, and then a rough night for the rookies. Blaze Crawford, Blake Canlis, you got Christopher Hill, Quentin Warman. Those 4 rookies end up 25th through 30th.
And then these are a lot of the heavy hitters who suffered the brunt here at the World Center of Racing. Nick Ottinger, big surprise. We didn't see him much at the front for this race, but 31st is what he'll get tonight. And Bobby Zelensky, strong driver, taken out. 36th place, Nate Stewart. Garrett Lowe, who won a couple laps down late in the going. Dylan Duvall, who led this race a couple of times today, all of a sudden pushed back to 37th. Eddie Kerner, Colin Bowden, and Seth the Merchant bringing the end of the 40-car field to take on Daytona through 82 laps.
And with Act 1 done, we look forward to what is up next. It'll be in 2 weeks' time from America's Racing Showplace, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Not only the first race after the Daytona jitters, but there was a lot of talk on Countdown to Green, Kenneth, especially for the drivers. I'm looking forward to the intermediates. I can't wait to get to the intermediates. Well, now it's time to put up. A lot of drivers feel like this is where they could make or break their season, and we get our first look at everybody at intermediate speed in 2 weeks' time.
You know, Super Speedway racing, Evan, brings everyone to an equal pace. Las Vegas is going to be the first proper test for all those teams, all those setups to see which driver, which team overall can beat the other over long runs, possible green flag strategies, and tire wear. So it'll be great fun to see what Las Vegas brings in as our first mile-and-a-half race of the season. We don't have many of those over the first 10 races, the only other being Charlotte, or rather that is last year, but we have a bunch of other mile-and-a-halves past race 7 with Charlotte. So great stuff there, and we'll see what Las Vegas can bring.
And we're looking forward to that one. If you want more coverage from here tonight at Daytona, stick around. About 10 minutes away from the post-race press conference, you'll be able to hear from some of your top finishers and more. Again, just keep it locked right here to wherever you're watching tonight's stream. But until next time, that is it for us here tonight. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, NASCAR, and for your broadcast team tonight. For the folks on Countdown to Green, that's Camille Salazar-Hadaway, Alan Cavana, Ryan Vargas, and for your broadcast team tonight. For Kenneth Bueno and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to say thanks for tuning in. We'll be back for round number 2 in 2 weeks' time on February the 25th from Viva Las Vegas. That race and every race of the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively right here on the iRacing Esports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until then, good night from Daytona Beach, and congratulations to the first winner in 2025, Steven Wilson.
Evening, everyone, and welcome to post-race media availability for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series at Daytona International Speedway. We will be joined here in just a few moments by the driver of the number 77 GGT Energy Solutions Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports, Stephen Wilson, tonight's winner. The first question for Stephen, when he gets up here. Stephen, did you have any sort of change that you made on that last pit stop to give yourself an advantage and get yourself up into victory lane?
Yeah. So, I mean, we worked really well together there with NFR. All of my setup teammates there. It was crazy, we just were kind of planning out when to pit and stuff over those green runs, and it kind of just worked out. I qualified up front, which helped me stay up front. And then we worked pretty well there the whole race. I thought there when I didn't block the top on Casey before that last yellow, I thought it was over, but found our way back up there and threw some good blocks, and now we're sitting in victory lane.
At this point, we're going to open it up to the floor for questions. If you're here with us, please state your name and affiliation. And if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube and you're part of the audience there, feel free to submit your questions in chat. Our staff will be looking through the questions that come through, and we may have the opportunity to ask one of them to one of the drivers that you'll be hearing from in just a few moments. We start with Jacob.
Jacob Thielman, Race Face Digital. Steven, was that last move spur of the moment when you realized the run that was coming behind you, or was that a case where you were able to plan it a bit knowing that you had Parker and Zach behind you at the end?
Yeah, I was hoping, honestly, that it would just be between me and Falk. Tandems we're pretty strong here in this recent build that we had, I think, last week or something. So tandems there on the last lap are pretty strong, but I was in the red on the water temps. I said down the backstretch and just praying it doesn't blow up. And then I saw them have a huge run. So I pretty much had no choice. I had to take that, and they were absolutely hauling. So it was just a perfect block. And then luckily Parker just stayed behind me long enough to where he didn't go to my right rear, nothing, and suck me back. So him also getting wrecked off of turn 4 saved me from any possible moves there on the front stretch as well. So just happy to celebrate and happy to make all the right moves here at Daytona.
Well, I'll add that I don't know if you hate speedway racing, Steve, but speedway racing seems to have hated you for much of your time in the Coke Series. Does a Daytona win at least make up for it? Do you leave here maybe liking drafting a little bit more?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, honestly, my Daytona finishes don't show how much I really don't like doing this. I finished second last year. I finished third a few years ago. So we've been everywhere on the podium, but everywhere else we go, it always sucks. So hopefully we have a little better luck at Talladega and Atlanta, but, I'm starting to maybe like this stuff more, and if I keep running up front, I have no reason to hate it.
A question from the audience. Stephen, what's your favorite way to consume corn? Like corn on the cob.
Corn? Oh, yeah. So corn on the cob is street corn. Street corn is so good. It's not really the Iowa thing, but street corn is very good. I love putting street corn in like tacos and stuff, but not just plain corn on the cob. Put it in a little foil wrap and grill it right up. That's the way to go. And
another question from the audience. How do you, in general, develop your iRacing skills?
So, yeah, I've been on the sim for, about 8 years now. So just running races, that's the best way to do it. More practice, the better you'll get. You run against better guys, watch what they're doing, learn from them. That's how you do it.
We'll keep an eye out for more questions from chat. In the meantime, let's go to Seth.
Seth Eggert, Athlon Sports. Stephen, in real-life racing, there are drivers who often say that they will trade anything, even a championship, for a win at Daytona. I know you said that you weren't the biggest fan of this style racing, but would you have traded your championship for a win at Daytona?
Not a championship, no, but this is probably the most excited I've been for a singular win for quite some time. Daytona is just an awesome place. It's an awesome facility. It's an honor to win here. First race of the year too. Start out with a bang. That's just awesome. So I would not trade this thing right here. I love having this thing right next to me here in my bedroom, and wish I had a second one here last year. But all these championships, that's really what I'm here for, and those are the big bucks in this series as well.
Take the opportunity to go back to Jacob in just a moment. While we get him up here, Steven, one thing I noticed, this is about as jacked up as you've been, and sort of building off what Seth asked, why does a win at Daytona mean so much to you?
Yeah, I think just Daytona is just a place where a lot of things have to go right. There's a lot of strategic work. It's not really just pure speed. Everyone on the racetrack has a chance to win on speed. It's more just mental and strategy. And I really enjoy that part of racing, to be honest. So even though I say I don't like pack racing, I like the thinking aspect of it all. So I mean, it's just really cool. It's one of my favorite wins in a while. Like I said, I had that win at Texas last year, and that was pretty cool. All the playoff wins are awesome. But I think as a first race of the year as well, just starting off with a bang, playoffs, my win is already covered. I just have to keep it up there in points now. So it just kind of takes the ease off for the rest of the season, and it just gives me great momentum to start.
All right, we'll go to David and then to Jacob.
Hey, Steve and David Schildhouse, Spire Motorsports. Caitlin Clark, Cooper DeJean, Steven Wilson. What do these three have in common?
Yeah, we're all Iowa Hawkeyes, David. That's what we are. That's It's pretty cool. People can't see it on the stream, but my Discord picture from since yesterday's Cooper DeJean, I went crazy for that pick 6 in the Super Bowl. Iowa Hawkeye sports have been trending up here. We got another maybe Hawkeye right here and Goose sitting right here with me. We're going to celebrate tonight, but I'm really happy. I was talking about it tonight. I said Iowa's been trending up recently, so we better keep that luck, and we did tonight.
Steve, one more from me, Jacob Stillman, Raceface Digital. You've never locked into the playoffs this early, and I don't think in your career you've ever worried about it with the frequency of wins, but the pressure's completely off now. Does this change anything for the rest of the year, or like you told me preseason, is this just kind of falling into full attack?
Yeah, this doesn't really change anything for me by race. I'm just, it takes a little ease off and pressure. Maybe I won't have to push so hard for a win exactly. I'll just kind of sit where I am in points and figure it out. But obviously we have things to think about like segments, and I want to have that regular season. I don't know if we have a regular season title or playoff points, but I just want to stay up front the whole year. Every win is more playoff points. It's a better situation for the playoffs. So I'm going to keep pushing every race to come home with a win.
Next up, we'll try and get Justin Melillo up here in a few moments. While Justin's getting up here, if you have a question for Steven, go ahead and raise your hand, please, in the audience. We'll try and get you. Justin now.
Hey, Steven, Justin Melillo from iRacing. Looking forward now, I mean, you've already pretty much answered the question, but I mean, what do you do now for the next 13 races? Is it just go out there and try and win all 13 more of them before the playoffs?
Yeah, that's my goal. I know I said in the interview, like I said earlier tonight before this race, to win them all, got to win that first one. So right now we're 100% win percentage. The goal is to keep it at 100% for the rest of the season. Probably, definitely not likely, but I'm going to keep saying that until I lose one. So it's just good momentum. We're going into, I think Vegas is next. I've run there strong the past few years. So I think we got a good chance, and we'll have good speed as a team to be able to keep this up. And we're fighting for that championship. Got to keep the momentum up all year, and we want a team championship as well for Spire Motorsports.
Steven, congratulations on your win. Go Hawks, and we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas. We're now joined by the driver of the number 95 Chevrolet for Williams Esports, Parker White. Came home second this evening. Parker, can you just walk us through your perspective and what did you see? What were your strategy on that last lap? Parker, if you want to check your mute settings, just to be safe.
Yep, we're good now.
There we go.
We're good now.
Okay.
But yeah, so basically what I was saying is we had all the mow. Steve went low into one. And then I backed up to Novak in the back stretch. That's basically how I slid right there. So we had all the mow going into turn 3. So we were hooked up. I went high. Steven went high. I thought I was going to be at the perfect spot. I didn't think Dan and I were going to make contact. So yeah, I didn't really know what I could do off before. Once I got turned, so I backed up to Novak again. And yeah, wasn't much I could do right there.
As always, audience members, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Those watching on YouTube and Twitch, feel free to submit your questions in chat. We'll start our audience questions here with Jacob.
Jacob Zillman, Raceface Digital. Parker, you mentioned the contact wasn't part of the plan. So it sounds like me hearing that you and Novak had a plan and it just got scuttled there in the final corner.
Yeah, kind of. We didn't coordinate anything with each other. It was just kind of natural. When you're in a position like that, going down the back stretch, you got two guys that are pulling away. And then I was naturally just going to have the draft from Steve, so I backed up to Novak, like I said. I knew we were going to build a run, and eventually they were going to stall out, and I knew for sure that Steve was going to make a move off of 4. So we got that mow going, and yeah, like I said, I went with Steven. I thought it would be kind of easy for me, to be honest, out of turn 4. But like I said, I didn't expect that contact with Dan, so that kind of just sealed it for Steven there.
It's not a win, but given that Daytona is so much about survival, is a runner-up about the best start to your title defense that you could hope for?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, in my opinion, I think Steve was kind of a hard lock into the playoffs anyway, so at least for me, this doesn't change anything for me looking out on the future of the season. So if I'm not going to win a race, obviously second is always a good day. It's a good points day, and it'll set me up for the playoffs later on this season. So I think it's for sure a good day for me.
Parker, a question from our chat. How do you stay so calm in these situations, and how old were you during your rookie season?
Mainly just stay calm by talking to my teammates, just staying on top of the race, try not to get behind myself. And I think in my rookie season, I was like 16 or 17, I think. But yeah, ever since then, just gaining the experience of the series has helped me a lot. I was a bit more nervous in my rookie season, obviously. Getting to the highest level of sim racing and competing at this level was for sure nerve-wracking. But now that I'm champion last season, it's a bit more chill this season, just kind of trying to collect points as I go. Obviously, a win would have been good tonight, but like I said, second's always a good day as well.
Is there anything you feel like you could have done differently to get the win? That too, also from chat.
I don't think I could have done anything different. Obviously, if we take a look at the replay, I could have moved up a bit more in 3 and 4, but in that situation, I wasn't really worried about Dan too much. Like, I knew he was going to try to side draft, but like I said, I didn't expect us to make contact. My plan was just to stay glued to Steven and then make a move on the front stretch, but I wasn't able to do that.
One more question from chat, Parker. For our airplane nerds out there, what's your favorite airplane of all time?
My favorite airplane is a Boeing 737. It's the first time I ever got to visit a cockpit. It was in a Delta 737. That's my dream airplane to fly. I want to be a Boston-based Delta 737 captain. And the next one I get to fly on to Daytona Thursday is a Delta 737-900, so that's pretty cool.
We'll go to Seth here in just a few moments, and then Justin. Audience members, while we're here, make sure to be ready on your accepts as we roll through these.
Seth Triathlon Sports. Parker, with the way the racing has been over the years at Daytona, blocks like this often happen. Were you expecting it to be as severe and for you to be able to hold on to it with the block from Steven?
I don't really think it was a block necessarily. Like, I knew Steven was going to move up, and with us being teammates, I was obviously going to go with him. Dan was, of course, as well. But at least for my chances of winning, I was going to go with Steven because we had the mow. But I really, like, the whole race, the way it played out, I thought it would be a bit more hectic. To be honest, I missed the first wreck. And after that, we were all able to stay up front at NFR. Like, we all got lined up on the top. We were doing a really good job. Side drafting the bottom. We all stayed up there. Then at one point, we kind of fell apart and we got separated. And then it all just fell into our hands there on the last lap. Because like I said, we all had the mow in the high line. We had a lot of us on NFR that were there. so we were able to just carry the mow. And I was just going to go with my teammates there, obviously, so there wasn't much else I would have done.
To Justin.
Hey, Parker, Justin Malillo, iRacing. Just want to know from you what tonight felt like as far as the racing was concerned in terms of what it was like in comparison to, let's say, last night's A Open, in comparison to the Clash 2 weeks ago, in comparison to any of the community Daytona races that you've been doing throughout the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of Daytona for the past couple of weeks. The A Open last night for sure helped with it being open setup. But like, of course, we had that FTF 500 this past weekend that helped me out a lot. Just getting to run like a full length 500, that kind of got me in the rhythm for this race, just so I could like learn the draft. And then we had like Draft Masters at Daytona last week. I ran a lot of that with my friends and kind of got to learn this new draft model. So that for sure helped a lot. We knew that the last car in line was going to kind of suffer because it's a lot harder to hold the draft now. So that was really the biggest takeaway that I got from driving over these past couple of weeks. And obviously just pack racing, still the same thing. Got to side draft each other to stay with the mow. And that's really just about it.
Two more questions, Parker. First, from the chat, how did you not crash tonight, given how crazy it was at the end?
Yeah, I see that's Alex that asked that. I got to start behind him. I think we actually had a pretty close call there on the start. I think I was trying to shove through Alex, and they're all just checking up there. But I was a bit surprised that I missed that first crash, to be honest. Like Blaze, he was in my VC for the race. I think he got crashed in that, but luckily it wasn't race-ending damage. So really, to be honest, it was mainly just luck, just being in the right places when those wrecks happened. And then it was mainly just trying to stay up towards the front for the rest of the race after that, because I was in a good spot. I knew if I got shuffled back that I would be in some trouble. So really just trying to stay up at the front. It'll stay clean.
And one more from chat. Busy as you are, how do you balance schoolwork from college, road racing, flying, and your eNASCAR work at the same time?
Well, I do a lot of flight simming, and you really don't get to do much while you're up at cruise. So that's usually when I'll do my college work, just like study for like groundwork for my instrument rating, my private, stuff like that. And really that's all that goes on. And then on my free time, I'll practice for eNASCAR, road racing. Like we got the Bathurst 12 here coming up soon. I'll be practicing for that. So really that's all that goes on.
Well, Parker, congratulations on your runner-up finish tonight, and we look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas in 2 weeks. We move now from Parker White to the driver of the number 40 Sunoco Chevrolet for Letarte Esports, Connor Yarshak, who finished 11th. Connor, you had the lead coming to the white flag. Was there anything you feel like you could have done differently from that point on to put yourself in victory lane?
No. Really, I was liking my position there during that overtime down the back. And then when the pack kind of got all miscombobulated, when Casey got sideways, it really single filed it out and it got that 5-car train. And it's funny, my spotter at the line was like, it's not looking good. You got NFR behind you. And yeah, like that, when you're that far out and 4 of them go together, there's not much you can really do. I wish they made the move a little later for my own sake, so I didn't fall back into the 2x2 behind, but there wasn't much I could do at that point.
As always, audience members, please raise your hand and we'll get you up here onto the stage to ask questions. Those watching on YouTube and Twitch, feel free to put your questions in chat. For Connor, we start with Jacob.
How deep, Connor, is that sinking feeling in your gut when you're coming to the white flag? You know what you've got behind you, and you're just sitting there, and I'm sure in your rearview mirror it's going, there is no good way out of this.
Yeah, that was pretty much my thought. I mean, you can always try to do something crazy with a block, especially with this package, but I was happy that I was in that position to have a shot at it, but it's just at the end of these races, it really is just kind of how the cookie crumbles, that whoever is in the best lane at that time, and it didn't quite fall on my way. But I mean, I'm just happy I had a shot at the end.
That's where I was going to go with my follow up here. I mean, you did almost look like a rookie hero, and put yourself in position to win in your first start. The finish may not reflect it, but can you sit here and at least say to yourself, we had a shot, and feel like you belonged at least in this first race?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the last however many big Daytona races and Talladega races I've tried to run, I always am like, my saying is just try to be there at the end. That's all you can ask. And I'm never there at the end. So to finally be there and get to kind of just let instinct take over and try to go for it, I mean, it's nice to finally be in that spot.
Connor, in your first race here in the Coke Series, you come away with the highest finishing rookie honors. How proud are you of that, given how deep this field is and how competitive the Coke Series is in 2025?
I mean, I'm definitely happy. I mean, the finish doesn't even really reflect how good we run. Just I needed that 210 coming to the line to save that, and I kind of got pinched up against the wall and had quite a few people get me at the line. But I mean, I'm definitely happy. I mean, it can't go without saying how hard this field is, how hard it is to run good. So anytime you can have a shot, I mean, you should definitely be happy.
Connor, you represent Canada in the Coke Series. There's been a strong tradition, both past and present, of drivers coming from Canada. A former Coke Series champion in Keegan Leahy, Dylan Duval, made the playoffs last year, won at Talladega. What is it like, and what sort of meaning does it have for you to represent your home country in this series?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I love Canada. I love where I live. And, I mean, we're outnumbered badly. So anytime that the good guys can have a good run, I mean, it's definitely nice.
And how proud are you to represent the Calgary Dinos in the College Series? Where did that mascot name come from, right?
I have no idea, but I mean, I love the College Series. It's a great opportunity for so many people. I know there's quite a few Coke guys that make it tough on some people, but I mean, it's nice to go there and represent your school and earn a little scholarship money. So I'm always proud to rep the Dino car.
We now go to Justin.
Justin Malillo, iRacing. Hey, Connor, congrats on the 11th place finish here tonight at Daytona. Looking forward in 2 weeks to Las Vegas. That's really your first test, right? See where you stack up against the other veterans of the series and the other rookies that are coming in with you. What's your mindset being on top and heading into the next race of the season?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for Vegas. I've always kind of excelled there. It's been a really good track for me. It's a big race, not just for me, but kind of a big race for Nexus as a whole. We struggled a lot last year, and we've made some big pickups and improvements during the off season. So I mean, just to go to see where we stack up, I mean, it's definitely going to be an important race for us, I think.
Connor, and I'll preface this by saying I think we can count the Pinty series so far as this question is concerned. But have you been to any NASCAR races in real life? And if you haven't had the chance to go see the Pinty series or otherwise, what races do you want to go see in person?
I have not seen any races in real life. I'm thinking if I had to pick, obviously a Daytona race is always a good one to go to. A Coke 600 would be nice. Bristol seems like a cool place. I mean, it's quite a mission to get out to these races for me, so any race would be good for me.
Well, Connor, congratulations on your 11th place finish and being the highest finishing rookie in tonight's race, and we'll see you in Las Vegas.
Thanks, James.
We are now joined by the driver of the number 88 Ledford Billiard Supply Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports, Briar LaPrade. Briar finished 26th this evening. Briar, how tough was it to swallow the way things sort of ended, given how much speed you showed early on in this race? Check your mutes on your mic here, by the way. Still muted on our end, Briar.
Do you got me now?
Yep, now we have you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so led the most laps at 17. It's pretty cool. We'll take it, even though we were in a single file line. But yeah, I led for billiard supply number 88. Was hauling. We tried just to lead the train and stay up front when we could. We shuffled back a couple times, but yeah. Like I said, just Daytona. It is what it is. They checked up in front of me, and just I tried to go low to avoid it, and I think Blaze got loose and just right reared us into the wall, which it happens. It's not his fault. It's just racing deal. But just super happy with the support from Legacy and Left for Billiard Supply. Of course, make sure to check them out at leftforbilliardsupply.com. But yeah, just we'll move on. It's another Daytona race. It happens. It just sucks because you want to take advantage of these races and try and get a win early, especially with how the playoffs are. It's only 10 spots, and it's been filled up quite a bit here the past couple of years. So I just try and take advantage of these races when I can.
As always, audience members, raise your hands. Those watching on Twitch and YouTube, feel free to put your questions in chat. We start with Jacob.
How gutted were you in the moment the caution comes out and you guys had pitted, so I'm sure there's that feeling of, well, this is the worst possible timing for that.
Yeah, so actually when I was leading there and we decided to pit, I believe it was a little bit after lap 40, there was a lot of NFR guys behind me, and I didn't have a spotter or any communication. I was just out there by myself, and I think it was Falkingham following me there, and I just kept telling myself, off of turn 4, if I see anyone duck, you got to go. And I think I hit the brakes the very last second and got pretty scared about speeding there on pit road. But it ended up being fine, actually, when we got through that yellow flag because most of the field in front of us on the scoring loop had to pit anyways. They're going to have to get gas to finish that race, and we were good once we pitted. So, yeah, it was just try and get the track position and then hold on to it. And there's a couple times towards the end, I was towards the front, shuffled to the back, and then got back up to the front, which, with how this new draft package is on here, it's tough to do that. And, I just tried to race the best I could with, little no friends, and made it work, I think. But obviously just got caught up in that wreck there with our Junior Motorsports teammate, Blake. But it happens. Like I said, we'll just move on.
What is that like in the draft as a driver, where you're sitting there and you're in a good position, but like you said, you have absolutely no friends around you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm worried about on entry at corner. I'm kind of washing up the track. I don't know if the broadcast caught it a whole lot, but I'm washing up the track so Falkingham can get some air on his nose so he can just keep pushing. I think it was kind of working, kind of not. I don't know. I heard that the second pack was catching us. But yeah, I'm trying to worry about that. And then, like I said, coming off turn 4 every lap, I was just reminding myself, like, hey, pit window's open. If I see any of them duck, just go. Because there's a lot of them in the line there, a lot of teammates, and I just knew I needed cars to work with because it's hard when you only have like 2 or 3 cars to work with this new draft package.
And this is not your first rodeo in the Coke Series. It's also not your first rodeo leaving Daytona in a bit of a hole. What do you have to do to dig out of that hole sooner rather than later so you can hopefully go on a playoff run?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest goal I've had this year, is go on a playoff run. And, I tried tonight, to go get a win, but obviously it didn't happen. But yeah, 2022, we junked the field on lap 6. It was probably worst moment in my career. 24, I think we got up, led maybe 1 lap or something, just kind of rode around, it felt like. And then, this year, we finished 26. So not the greatest result. I kind of just want to average, top 20, so we can stay in the series for next year. But yeah, it's just, you got to stay consistent. You got to survive these races. And like I said, just try and average the 20th or better every race, I feel like. But like these super speedways, like I said, you got to take advantage of it. And I still get jitters. When it's first race of the year, you get nervous with all these pace laps at the start of the race. You get nervous. Once you get about 7, 8 laps in, they start to go away. But every year you get nervous, and then jitters go away, and then you're good to go after that. But
yeah, we'll just try and be consistent throughout the rest of the year and hopefully get us a win. I think that's what it's going to need to take this year to get in the playoffs is a win and be in the playoffs.
Brian, you've had a pretty long association with junior motorsports, even though it hasn't been every single year over the last few. But when you first got that call to race for Dale Earnhardt Jr., what was the first thing that went through your mind?
It was actually just a blank space. My mind went blank. I froze up. It's a funny story, actually. I tell this a lot. Just sitting there watching, I think it was Bengals and someone else. It was an NFL playoff game, maybe the Raiders. But yeah, it's a playoff game. I get this call, the North Carolina number, and I almost didn't answer it because I thought it was a spam call. Because you get some of those spam calls sometimes, and it's just whatever, you hang up. But I figured, it was around free agency time. I just got my contract done and all that good stuff, and I was like, we'll pick it up, see what we got on the other line. He picks it up. He said, "Hey man, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr." And that's when I froze up. I was like, "Oh, I did not expect that on the other line." But yeah, we chit chatted a little bit. I welcomed me with open arms to Junior Motorsports, and like I've always said in these interviews, they're like a family over there. They treat you really well, and just super happy to be back. And like you said, I haven't been here consistently over the past couple of years, but the 1 year I missed it and came back, they once again invited me right on back in to the 88, and we have a good partnership going on, and like I said, great relationship, and look forward to more years hopefully.
Brian, thanks as always for the time, and best of luck to you as the series shifts to Las Vegas. We now turn our attention to the driver of the number 39 6 Karma Ford Mustang, Daniel Falkingham, who finished 14th this evening. Daniel, what kind of mindset does it take, and how strict of a mindset is needed to make it into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series?
Yeah, I would say really like the best thing that I could say about that is you really just can't go over your head when you're going into like these big races and stuff. When you're trying to make your way through the ladder, you just can't go over your head because it's really easy to make so many mistakes because you wanna try to prove yourself that you can hang in the Coke Series with some of the best in the world, and it's very easy to just try to go too far and just make so many mistakes along the way. So no, it's very important to try to keep cool head and try not to like go over the limit. It's simple. It's just little simple things that you need to do to be able to prove yourself with the best.
As always, audience members, raise your hands. Those watching on Twitch and YouTube, feel free to put your questions for Daniel in chat. We'll start with Justin.
Hey, Daniel, Justin Malillo, iRacing. Well, you were leading there on the last lap, and my question was I was kind of expecting to talk to you later in this conversation, but I'll ask it anyway. I've seen you racing around in some of the community events and some of the other official races, and of course, you raced in the Clash 2 weeks ago. What was tonight like in difference to those races, and how did you have to race it differently with this caliber of field?
Yeah, definitely not just that with like how strong this field is, but also with how different the package was for tonight, where we couldn't go all crazy and make all these crazy moves and it would work. Like you really had to really think ahead of like what moves you wanted to make. And like as I say that, I really kind of try to go back on that last lap to see what I could have done differently. But I don't know, it's just a mental game with this kind of racing, especially with how like the package is, where it doesn't get as crazy as it was before. You really gotta be patient and really plan out how you make each of your moves. And I think I pretty much made all the right moves, probably until that last lap where I really wish I could have done some stuff differently. But I mean, especially at the end of these races, it's so hard to really plan what you want to do, especially being the leader, just because with how strong the draft is, the side draft and whatnot. It's just you're just sitting duck, and just try my best out there. But like I said, all these different moves you got to make, it's all mental. And thankfully, I think we definitely made all the moves, all the right moves, probably but one.
Jacob.
Jacob Silman, Raceface Digital. Dan, how fast were your hands moving coming to the line there in the triangle, trying to save that thing and keep from wadding everybody up?
Yeah, they were moving. I was trying my best to try to just save whatever I could, because like I had no one behind me, and then we had another 2 or 3 tenths gap to the guys behind me, behind our little group with me, Novak, Steve, and Parker. So I knew I was screwed. Like I had to get back to the wall to at least block something, because if I just stay on the bottom, they're all just gonna go every which way to get around me. So, but yeah, I was definitely trying to hang on to it come to the end with all of us wrecking and whatnot. But yeah, I'm just glad we all didn't like crash fully. At least I got across the line with like at least a semi-decent finish. I didn't mean to get into Parker going to 3 and 4. I wanted to go up to try to just side drive to see if I can just slow him down, just to do anything just to save myself. And I kind of probably took Parker out of shot to win right there. But sorry, I definitely want to apologize for that. But yeah, I'm just glad we got across the line in semi one piece. We lost a tire there coming to the finish line, but thankfully we didn't lose too many spots, and we still came out, I guess, with like a 14th place finish. So, but yeah, we were trying to hang on there right at the end.
You are repping a new team in the series this year in Six Karma. I know it didn't work out this way in the results, but there was a stretch there in about the final 25 laps that you and your rookie teammate there, Eddie Kerner, 1-2 and really flying the flag. How cool was that moment, and what has it been like so far getting to work with those guys and really introduce them to this series?
They're awesome, man. In the last really month, I've gotten to know these guys through the free agency stuff, and just through like planning out our paint scheme, planning out all the cool stuff we're going to do, hopefully this year. Just they're awesome. They're a great group of guys, and get to represent kind of like a Latin American esports group as well. It's different for me, but it makes it so much more fun when you get to like meet so many new people, and they are a group that genuinely seem excited to be in the series. And I think we definitely gave them a reason to be excited tonight with how good me and Eddie ran. I still feel bad for Eddie with how he got taken out of the race, because we had a good shot to have some good team points for the team standings, and then unfortunately his race got ended prematurely. But it was good to have Eddie up there. It was good to have all the NFR guys up there. But in terms of just representing Six Karma in their first outing out here, it was awesome. I wish I could have gotten them a win, man, because we were right there. But we'll have to try again next time.
Daniel, you've competed in the Coke Series. You've also spent a lot of time recently competing in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, representing the University of Maine at Machias. How much fun has that been to compete on both fronts?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. The College Series has given me another platform to go out and perform, and it gives me to represent my college, very small college down here in Down East Maine, and just gives me just allows me to represent them, and yeah, it just means a lot to me, considering I've been going. This is like my fourth, fifth year now, trying to finish out all these semesters, trying to get done, man. It's been a long process to try to get graduated and all that, but I still have a lot of fun doing it, and it's kind of funny now. I think about the College Series a little bit now. I had a heartbreaker last week when we lost by like 1,000th at Talladega in the truck, and then we came here and we lost on the last lap again. So had 2 heartbreakers in back-to-back weeks, but now doing the College Series has been fun. I've been happy to get a couple wins over there, and yeah, hopefully to keep doing it for as long as I can until just time runs out for me and whatnot. But definitely looking forward to the next couple races to wrap up the season.
Joining Daniel here at our press conference is the driver of the number 19 Six Karma Ford Mustang, teammate to Daniel Falkingham, Eddie Kerner. Eddie, a question for you and Daniel. We'll start with Daniel. A strong showing tonight for Six Karma. Do you believe this will be the first of a lot of strong runs in the Coke Series and maybe a couple of wins for you two this year?
Yeah, I'm hoping, like, if tonight was any indication, I don't see why we can't go back up and try to have another strong performance at Las Vegas, Interlagos, and all the rest of the races down the line. But no, it definitely means a lot to have a great first run with Six Karma. Like I said, they're new to the series, and they're still trying to get acquainted with what goes on in the eNASCAR world. So, very happy we had a good run tonight, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's a sign of things to come.
And Eddie, same for you. Do you proud of and inclined to believe this is the first of a few strong runs for Six Karma and maybe a few trips to victory lane?
Yeah. Yes, I hope so. It was fun working with Falkingham there for a little bit, and being up front. I love the super speedways, and sucks how I got taken out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully staying up front for the 1.5 miles, and maybe not the road courses, but some of the other tracks coming up would be nice.
Let's go back to Jacob.
Jacob Zilmer, Raceface Digital. Eddie, can you clarify what did I know they said on the broadcast there was a broken toe link that forced you to pit road, but what did happen to cause that there in the race?
Yeah, the top got a little disconnected when someone moved up and kind of jumbled the top lane, and there was, I don't know, maybe a 2-car length gap that was getting closed up really quick, and there was only a tandem on the bottom, and the second guy, Jordy, he tried hopping up in a really, like, it was a 10-mile-an-hour difference, and he like kind of half blocked, and he didn't really make it all the way up, and my left front hit his. And I've not had it happen on, I've done a bunch of these races this week and for a long time, and it just shattered my toe link, and I couldn't repair it. It was just done. It hasn't happened to me before, but it was just weird at the speed difference, and I guess it just caught at the exact wrong point in the left front, and that was it. Really just, I mean, gut punch. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what was the swing of emotions there, going from having with your teammate, having a shot to win the race, and then the snap of your fingers and you're out of it?
I mean, horrible. I mean, I'm so excited, just to be in the series. It's such a long time coming, and to be up there. I'm a rookie, but again, I don't feel like a rookie because all the North Force guys, I mean, I've worked with, and Falkingham, Parker, and Steven, and Donnie, and Femi. I mean, all of us were up there, and we kind of had control of the race. And just to be I was in the spot I wanted to be in, and then next thing you know, I mean, I didn't even know what happened to me at first. I thought I just kind of caught I just had left front damage, and it's broken, and I'm done. And it was just like, wow, that's it.
We now go to Kenneth.
Eddie, in a short space of time, you've been able to experience a lot of the Coke Series already in your rookie season, and you started up front in the Clash a couple of weeks ago. You run your first full-time race here in 2025 tonight at Daytona. I know it's a small space of time in between those two races, but what would you say your comfort level is at overall in this type of competition?
I'm pretty comfortable. I had a lot more nerves for the Clash because being like the first race. But with this getting into it, I felt comfortable because I've started this journey. For me was back all the way in 2020, trying to climb through the ladders, and so I've raced against a lot of these guys. Maybe only like 5 people in the series I haven't raced more than 10 times with. So I mean, I know. Everyone in the series knows me. I know everyone. So I'm a rookie, but I don't feel like one. And I felt like I was, up front and kind of got my name out there a little bit. So it was good.
Eddie, congratulations on your run this evening. Best of luck to you as you embark on your maiden campaign in the Coke Series. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks at Las Vegas.
Thank you.
We now take a look at the top 10 standings, or rather top 10 results screen from the action at Daytona. Steven Wilson, Parker White, and Malik Ray, your top 3. Novak and Minter rounded out the top 5. It was Casey Kerwin, Fabiola, Jordy Lopez, Dylan Alt, and Jimmy Mullis who rounded out the top 10. The next broadcast of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series comes your way on Tuesday, February 25th for round 2 from Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And that broadcast can be found at eNASCAR.com/live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, with the pre-race to come beforehand and our post-race to follow after. On behalf of the team at eNASCAR and iRacing, thank you all so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the Coke Series from Daytona. We look forward to seeing you out west in Las Vegas, Nevada in 2 weeks' time for our first mile and a half race of the 2025 campaign.